Thank you so much, Louis. Welcome, everyone. Today is Thursday, March 16th, 2023. We are now opening the business of the Pacific Grove Unified School Board. I have just now called us to order. So, Mandy, would you mind doing a roll call? Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Thank you, Randy. And I didn't officially hit that, so now that's taken care of. I have a little blurb here to read. Ralph, will you remind me at what point in the agenda I need to read the blurb about Brian being remote?
That probably now is fine.
No, it's fine.
Now it's
Okay, lovely. Okay, I'd like to announce for the record that this meeting is being conducted pursuant to California Government Code Section 54953B concerning teleconferencing of meetings. Trustee Brian Swanson's participating in this meeting by speakerphone from Embassy Suites by the Hilton Philadelphia Airport, 9000 Bartram Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19153. In accordance with the Brown Act, this location has been identified on the agenda for this meeting. I would now like to ask Trustee Brian Swanson to respond to the following questions. Trustee Brian, are you able to hear our proceedings on this end?
Yes, I am.
Great. Do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
Yes, I do.
Has the agenda been posted at your location?
Yes, it has.
Is your location such that any member of the public could participate in the public portions of this teleconference meeting from your location?
Yes.
Members of the board, are you able to hear Trustee Brian? Yes, I see nods from everyone. Thank you. Because we are having a meeting with teleconferencing, all actions this evening will be by roll call vote. Thank you all for that portion of the meeting. Okay, moving on to adoption of the agenda. Did I skip something, Ralph?
No, I forgot my glasses, so I'm squinting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna get them in my the office and.
Oh, okay. Well, next up, it says, is the adoption of the agenda. So if you would like.
Yes, Madam President, we have a couple of items that are in your folder for you and have been posted in regards to add-ons. Apologize for the walk-ons, but some of these are happening. We need to have them approved by the board before the date of requirement, and that's before the next meeting. We have a walk-on for contract services with DJ Philip Special for PG High School dance. It was a holdup due to fingerprint clearance. And the walk-on for the transportation expenditure plan, which we just got and is due before the next meeting. So we needed to bring that to you. We also wanted to note that there are additional signature pages for action discussion item A and revised contract for services on we mentioned this online, but the Medics for Life, the corporation box was checked. The improper box was checked. We corrected that for you. That's all we have for tonight.
Okay, signature for action A is adoption of the TRAN. Okay, yes, I did know about that. Thank you. The walk-on item, where are we plugging that into the agenda?
Wherever you'd like.
We can just plug that in right after consent. Does that work for you guys? Sure. Okay. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the adjustments noted by Dr. Porras?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as adjusted by Dr. Porras.
I'll second. Thank you. Motion made by Trustee Hazen, seconded by Trustee Otmar. Roll call vote, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Any public comment? Louis? Okay, Louis doesn't see any online and I don't see any here in public. So Mandy, please go ahead. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
I can't hear Mandy, so I'm going to say aye.
Oh, yes. Thank you. That was actually the appropriate timing. So good job. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. And I will now read off our closed session agenda. I am identifying the closed session topics. We have 6 of them today. 2 of them are negotiations. One is with regard to PGTA and one is with regard to CSEA. One item related to Government Code Section 54956.9, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation. Did you say something, Ellie? No, I'm sorry. Corner of my eye. Number 4 is Government Code Section 54956.8. It's a real property negotiation with the Monterey Bay Charter School lease amendment. Number 5 is Public Employee Discipline Dismissal Release Complaint. And number 6 is Superintendent Goals Review. Any public comment on closed session items? Seeing none online, give it just a second. Is there anyone online, Louis, besides Brian? No? Okay. And I don't see anyone here in public. And board, it's not on the agenda, but I'll give you a moment. Do you have anything to comment on this? No. Okay. Then with that, we will adjourn to closed session. If we're coming to Pacific Grove Unified School Board meeting, Thursday, March 16th. My glasses are fogging up, excuse me. Okay, we are now reconvening in open session. We have a couple of reporting outs to do on our work in closed session. So for items 1 and 2, which is, excuse me, negotiations related to PGTA and CSEA, information was given and information was received and direction was given. For item number 3, conference with legal counsel related to Jewel Labs. We approved unanimously on a vote in closed session where we accepted the settlement agreement and we approved participation in the settlement of the lawsuit against Jewel Labs. For number 4, the real property negotiations with Monterey Bay Charter School. We unanimously approved a lease agreement and the charter agreement. Is that the proper way to say that, Ralph? Thank you. Number 5, no information was given. Number 6, superintendent goals review. We got a little bit further, but we're actually going to work kind of individually offline to be able to finalize that, hopefully at the next meeting so that it is no longer recurring on the agenda. All right, with that, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Hazen, thank you. All right, thank you all so much. We're moving now onto the part of our board meeting where we talk about variety of communications. First up is written communications. And this is the part where I read off all of the topics of the emails that came into me as board president, and trustees will keep an ear out for my list. And if there's any that I miss, please do. You'll have an opportunity to chime in after I read this and add those. It's kind of a lengthy list, so I'll start now. Okay, I received an email from Caltrans related to ribbon cutting rescheduling of the brand new beautiful sidewalk on Sunset. I got an email related to the sports program philosophy in Pacific Grove Unified School District, an email about land acknowledgement, an email about the crosswalk, I should say new crosswalk planned for Unipro and 14th Street, I believe. It's behind Robert Down. Thank you for job share approval. Thank you, I should say a kudos for Jason Tavani. Email recommending that the city of PG and PGUSD do some collaborations for recreation options for our youth. An email about inequitable opportunities the individual felt were happening at Forest Grove in the 1st grade. We got 3 emails against the skate park recreation committee's recommendations. An email related to menstrual supplies being available in our schools. We got 7 emails in support of retaining the Saturday choir on Saturday. We got an email related to a follow-up on a court case. We got an email related to private conversations between a superintendent and a trustee related to an employee. We got an email related to safety concerns during storm conditions at Forest Grove. We got 2 emails against the idea of retaining a Saturday choir on Saturday. We got an email, a really thorough email on contingency plans, plan ideas for when we have power outages like we've been experiencing this week. We got an email related to a well-respected book on Pacific Grove history related to marine environments, fishing, etc. We got an email that is a grievance related to Robert Down. We got an email related to the spelling bee. There was a spelling bee last night at Robert Down. If anyone missed it, it was really cool. I'll talk about it more in my board comments. And then we got 1 email on background, and my page is cut off, and I'm sorry, I don't have the rest of what that email was. So board members, do you have any further emails that I missed?
I had 1 additional email. It was a note of gratitude from an employee for approval of leave.
Okay, thank you, trustee Clerk McNary. Trustee Otmar?
I have nothing additional.
Nothing additional. Okay, Dr. Hazen.
A lot of emails in support of the choir, I will say, for Saturday.
Yes, thank you so much. And student representative, trustee Avila?
No emails.
Nothing additional. And we also have a trustee tonight zooming in. So trustee Brian?
Nothing additional. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, next up, we're going to do board member comments. We're going to start tonight with trustee Hazen. Go ahead.
So I think I speak for a lot of folks here. It's been a week full of highs, but also quite a few lows. I'm really happy to hear about the ventilation for the Robert Down Library moving forward. It's been closed to the students there since COVID. So it's really exciting to hear that they'll be able to go back there, and really exciting for Ms. Scanlon as well. On the other hand, Forest Grove has been without power for 2 days now, as we know, which has been incredibly hard on parents, students, and teachers alike. So I'm happy with how the district has handled this, but I also, or I should say, and I also see the need to explore additional approaches for some of these unexpected, if not unforeseen circumstances. It's part of what I do in my job, is recognizing things are changing, and things are changing faster in some ways than we've been used to. So part of the beauty of Pacific Grove is that we are a small community. We can be nimble and work together, such as with the city, as our recent email has shown, to help solve these problems. But that was just a high-level comment I wanted to make on that. Nothing else specific. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hazen. Clerk McNary?
Thank you. I know the power is still out for some, so I'm sorry if you're still in the dark. And where I'm coming from, I think we used to say that power outages and school closures were unprecedented, but I don't think we can say that anymore. I think this week and this year has shown us that there are a lot of areas where we have some improvements to make as a district. As a parent this week, I was frustrated with the communications and what happened. As a board member, I wasn't happy. I think we need a plan moving forward that involves the community. And so I'll be asking for that as a future agenda item, because my students personally have not been at school for 2 days. And last night I was not pleased to know that there didn't seem to be a plan for today. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk McNary. Trustee Otmar?
Thank you. So yeah, what a week. I just wanted to thank staff and administration. There's a lot of hard work that got done this week. And we kind of all endured a lot as a community. As a parent, I felt informed. I appreciated the early morning emails. I appreciated the late night emails, letting me know what was happening in the next day. The unprecedented power outage at Forest Grove now, I was so grateful to get that email with all of those fantastic ideas. I mean, I think as a community, what you're saying, Trustee McNary, is we can kind of come together, come up with some ideas, figure out what the best plan is, because this won't be the last time this happens. I mean, hopefully we will get more rain, but we'll be prepared, more prepared. I wanted to take a moment to thank Director Lip and the food service staff for feeding all of the kids that weren't in school. So I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. I mean, it's very meaningful that that happened. The other thing, on Thursday, at the beginning of the storm, I was driving into work and I saw Principal Garcia outside in his raincoat getting just pelted by rain, directing a parent, you know, letting them know that school was not in session. So I just kind of wanted to call that out too. That was rough for him, but he was out there doing some hard work. So that's all I have.
Thank you, trustee Otmar. Trustee Brian Swanson.
Well, I want to echo what trustee Otmar had said about Director Lip and her whole team. I thought that was really remarkable to see that they were so on it. You know, I mean, what we've seen over the last few weeks, and I think there's a lot to take away and learn from it, and figure out ways to do better. But I mean, you talk about unprecedented circumstances that we're facing. You know, I think it's very, very difficult to expect what we actually witnessed here, and you trust what PG&E is telling you. I mean, I remember whatever night it was, and we're sitting there in the dark, and you get a text that tells you, hey, you're going to have power in an hour, and then it's a day and a half later and you don't. You know, so some of those things, as far as whether, of course, we have power or not, are beyond our control. How we respond to that in the future, again, I think there's something to learn from that, and not just Director Lip and her staff, but everybody within the district. You know, we got a text from Dr. Porras last night at 10 o'clock, and he's parked out in front of Forest Grove at 10 o'clock while I'm up at Safeway charging my car. So everybody's doing extra stuff, and it's not lost on me, I think, or anybody. So there's that. There's an item in consent that I just wanted to touch on really briefly because we skip over those, but I'm going to say it here. We're seeing that there are 7 people that are retiring that are listed on consent, and it totals 36 plus years. Again, I think really remarkable to see that kind of longevity. And there are some, you know, there's one person who's been here for 16 years. And it's a huge loss to see that person going, but we can come back to that some other time. And then I did want to quickly touch again on the donations part in consent. Somebody donated a bass guitar. Super cool. I'd love to see that. And Rotary donated $2,200. And we sometimes miss those things too because it's in consent. And I just wanted to give a tip of the hat to Rotary for taking care of some of the needs of the district. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, trustee Brian Swanson. Student representative trustee Avila.
I don't have a mic, so should I just forget?
Here, you can.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, so I was just gonna mention really quickly that I did see today when I was coming back from lunch being off campus, I did see in the parking lot Dr. Porras and the Forest Grove food staff handing out lunches for the kids. So I thought that was a good touch and a nice thing to do. As far as at PG High, obviously the weather has been canceling a lot of sports practices, games, matches, and meets. So, but now they're starting to all go back underway, and kids are out starting to practice and play more. So I think that's great. Going on at the school for the seniors, this week we've been doing mock interviews, just a little way that Miss Light tries to prepare the seniors going on to the real world. I got interviewed by Mr. Rogaman today. He was my employer for the day. So thank you. Yeah, learned a lot of valuable tips and tricks for maybe a future interview one day. So that was nice. And just planning the Sadie's Hawkins dance. That'll be fun. Powder puff, powder buff. So there should be a lot of fun events going on in the end of the school year this year. So that's all.
Thank you, Ray. You can keep that microphone. Actually, I got another one. So thank you so much. So really quickly, last night I was honored to be a judge at the spelling bee at Robert Down. There was 4 judges, and that was the most stressful thing I've done in years. The kids were so passionate about spelling the words correctly. And I thought the team who put it together, which was led by parent and also PGUSD staff member Alex Jenner, and then another volunteer, Michelle Ford, who's done a lot of these apparently. She had a really thick skin. It was amazing. And then Elizabeth Merkelson was also helping out, and various Robert Down staff and teachers. Were there until at least 9 o'clock. Miss Heiserman, I see you. Yeah, for sure. And anyone else in the room. So it did culminate into having a first prize winner who was Olivia J. Second place, Dizzy DW. I'm just using the initials of the last names, ONF and Daphne O. Really cool. And I thought one really cool thing that they did was the organizers put together a snack table in the back with cupcakes and fruit so that the person who did misspell a word knew that they had something really cool and tasty waiting for them, and a little ribbon. So I just thought that was really kind, and it kind of like softened the blow of misspelling a word. So that was great. I was wide awake for hours after getting home because just it was intense. So yeah, that was wonderful. So anyways, food service, super nimble. Shout out to food service, but that's already happened, so I don't need to take too much time with that. We do need a plan for power outages, and I think you guys are working on that. I can see an evolution happening. Like tomorrow, we're doing a little bit better than we did today for our families. So I hope to see that improving. And I'm in support of Jen McNary's future agenda item to come back so we can really involve community members too to develop that, because we got a really well thought out email from a community member that had some great ideas. So that is all I have for my comments. So I'll jump back into being board president now. So next up is our superintendent report.
Thank you, Madam President. Just one item for tonight, and we'll defer to the agenda. I think just wanted to make sure that the board saw the letter that went out to the community. I want to thank the city of Pacific Grove. Initially just was not availability, which was part of the reason that we couldn't find the solution earlier. But after discussion, city manager Ben Harvey was great and worked with the staff. So we're able to utilize the youth center in the event that we need to tomorrow for the BASRP. And at this point, the game plan obviously starting at the site if there's no power, and then moving to BASRP in the afternoon where there's electricity and power and heat, so that they can be housed there, and also in a building that's suitable for housing students of that age. So that was a great opportunity for us through the city. And yes, things are continued to progress. It's just a hard one to predict in terms of where things are going. PG&E even sent out a letter just explaining that this was something they'd never seen before either, in terms of the challenge that they've gotten in the equipment that's breaking down in Pebble Beach and on the far side of over in the Del Monte Park area. So in conversations with them, they were also caught off guard in regards to how difficult this was going to be based on the materials that were destroyed. So in speaking with them, they're doing the best they can on giving us the best read, but the best read isn't always good. Tonight at 10 o'clock, we'll see what happens as we drive by the school on the way home. Hopefully the power will be on. And if not, we have a game plan for that. And again, just in terms of some of the factors that come into play when making this decision, there's a number of us that are trying to figure this one out. Sometimes it's daily, but the issue of heat, the issue of comms and communications. When the big storm hit, all cell towers in the area went down, if you didn't notice. And so now we had no communications at all, on and off the campus. All of those contribute to whether or not we feel we can safely house students on the campus. And then depending on when we can get restoration of power. So we followed a lot of what we were getting from our neighboring districts as well in terms of trend. And so we'll continue to get better. And that's all I got for tonight.
Thank you. And we have a little bit of a special moment that we're going to have during our next item, which is our PGUSD staff comments. I'm actually going to call up Shane Steinbeck. And typically you don't
Thanks
get
for that.
applause when you come up to the podium.
It's Shane Steinbeck, assistant principal at the high school. I do have a something I want to read to everybody, and somebody's being honored tonight, and really proud of her. And I reached out Chef Erickson's very humble, and I had to reach out to Kira Jimenez from the California Restaurant Association to kind of get a blurb as to why she kind of received the ProStar Educator of the Year. So I'd like to read that to everyone. Chef Erickson has proven to be an exceptionally innovative culinary teacher. She has added to her students' social connectedness by organizing ice cream social throwdowns, donut pop-up stations, and Mother's Day tea collaboration with Mr. Kelly's 3D art students. Very cool. Yeah. These are just some of the ways that the ProStart program extends beyond the classroom and out into the community of Pacific Grove. Pacific Grove High School's culinary program was one of the first high school programs in the state to be considered a fine art by the University of California A through G system. That I could go on about that. That was a lot of work and on her part, so we appreciate that. Our counselors, if they're here, really appreciate that, let me tell you. And enrollment in the program has actually tripled, and not even a pandemic could slow her class down. She considers her primary mission as an educator to provide a safe and brave space for all students. She's a strong ally of the LGBTQ+ community and students experiencing homelessness. Thank you, Chef Erickson, for all that you do for the students in and outside the classroom. Yes. We present to Chef Erickson today a certificate commemorating her being recognized as ProStar Educator of the Year. Congratulations, Jen.
May I say just like a few little thank yous?
Of course. You want to do that now?
Sure. Yeah, okay, so thank you, board. And I really want to thank the community for this, because as I can see and as I know, like I just have had such tremendous love and support from this community and all the parents and all of the students. And I would not be receiving this award without the support of my colleagues. And there are two people in particular I want to thank, because my program would not be where it is today without Shane Steinbach and all of his support and everything he's done for my program and my department. And then Sean Keller before him. They're just vital to our program. And then I'm going to have to say that I'm going to, thank you, Kelly, share those flowers with really the people that I have to thank the very most. I think any educator in here will agree that, often, we get the public accolades, but sometimes our families are the ones that make the ultimate sacrifices. And our students get the best of us and our families get what's left. My program definitely, I couldn't have built it. I would not have this award without the thousands, hundreds of thousands of hours that my husband, Jeff, put into helping me build the program, and the sacrifice my daughter, Max, is here tonight representing my 4 children and everything they've done to support me. So you guys are as much a part of this, and thank you.
Thank you, Chef Jen. And we've got 2 folks online who would like to say something. We're actually, Louis, I'd like to take a 3-minute break so we can all go outside and take a huge picture with Chef Jen standing around her and her family, if that's okay with you. We'll meet you outside. We'll be right back. We'll reconvene at 6:57. Is that okay with the board? Okay, let's head outside. Now, we are still on PGUSD staff comments wishing to address the board. I'm going to read a quick little disclaimer that gives a couple guidelines on public comment. And then anyone, while I'm reading this, if you would like to queue up either in person near the podium. It's the word I was looking for. Or if you would like to raise your hand online, please do so while I read this and we will get to you shortly. So public comment on any item of interest to the public that's within the board's jurisdiction will be heard. The board will also take public comment on each specific action item prior to board action on each item. Any individual wishing to comment on a specific item on the current agenda are kindly asked to wait until that item is being discussed. So in other words, if you're here tonight to talk about an item that's on the agenda later, please save those comments and we will allow for public comment when we're talking about that specific item. But if you're here to talk about something in general, please do now line up or raise your hand. We allow for public comment to not exceed 3 minutes per speaker and no more than 20 minutes per agenda item. And that's pursuant to our existing board policy. And with that, I'd like to alternate between folks in person and folks online. So we're going to start with Director staff comments.
Yeah.
Yes, this is, yes. Thank you for clarifying. This is still PGUSD staff comments. And so Director Anderson, are you the first one in line here or? Okay, please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, so I'm here tonight just to add a little something of some good news.
Yes.
Previously, the board was wondering how we were doing on landscape improvements.
Oh, yeah.
And so I promised that we would do a sample garden. So that sample garden was completed today. And at some point, if you have a break tonight, I invite everybody to go out and it's just right across the way over here. I put it someplace close so I can monitor it. And it was actually designed by our own in-house Shea Burns. And our entire grounds crew and our utility people did all the work you see out there from selecting off of our plan. And they put that together and I think it's beautiful. You're going to love it. And that's the future that we foresee for the rest of our grounds.
Wow.
So our entire utility staff, ground staff, and designed by our own Shea Burns. So some good news is happening. And then of course, we've been rocking and rolling with the storms and my staff has performed above and beyond expectation. When the rain was pelting us and the wind was blowing, they all showed up, they all came to work every day and we did a lot of work. So
Yes.
I just want to give a kudos to my team.
Thank you, Director Anderson. Those are well-deserved kudos. I'm just gonna see if we have any staff members online. I do believe that we do. So Lewis, will you unmute a staff member with their hand up? Will you read off their names? So go ahead and unmute Nicole, please.
Hi, sorry for the delay. It says it's unable to start the video, so I guess we'll just proceed without my apologies. My name is Nicole Bulich, and I am a teacher at the high school and a Forest Grove parent. So I'd like to read a statement I prepared. A pattern can only be called a pattern if it has been applied to a real world situation at least 3 times. Today, a pattern of closing Forest Grove while keeping other PGUSD sites open due to power outages has been established. Since this pattern clearly exists, I am here to ask what you are going to do to address it. The decision to close Forest Grove has left many working parents scrambling to find childcare, often only an hour or 2 before they are expected to report to work. Given that the population of students on free and reduced lunch at Forest Grove is 24%, the decision to close schools likely leaves families choosing between childcare and making ends meet. Additionally, the Great Schools website gives Forest Grove an equity score of 4 out of 10 for both test scores and academic performance for low income and underserved students. When the district's sister school, Robert Down, remains open, the achievement gap is likely to widen, hurting those low income and underserved students and perpetuating the cycle of inequity between our 2 elementary schools. As a teacher at the high school, I've been forced to bring my own children to school when my husband has been unable to take off work or has been out of town. I am not alone in this. Having my own children in my classroom diverts my focus from my students and affects their learning. Thus, the decision to close school not only affects Forest Grove students, but students and staff throughout the district as well. After all the creative problem solving born of the COVID pandemic, can we really not figure out a solution to this repeated problem beyond a minimum day? Can we get a generator? Can we hold class outside on first and second level on nice days like yesterday and today? Can we prioritize the education of our most vulnerable students by moving to different sites like the adult school where there is space and power to conduct classes? Could impromptu field trips like the one scheduled for 5th graders today, which was outside and hence not power dependent, be arranged throughout the community? At the very least, can you provide BASRP at sites with power to your employees so that we can do our jobs? We like to say that it is all hands on deck at PGUSD, but it feels like Forest Grove is being left to drift on a rising sea. Since the effects of climate change will likely continue to increase and affect our community in the coming years, we need a plan for more atmospheric rivers, falling trees, and power outages. Our district has a history of being reactive rather than proactive. The time to break that cycle and address this pattern is now. Your students, staff, and families are counting on it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And now we will revert back to our in-person staff member. Please go ahead.
Hello, Sally Richmond, Pacific Grove High School. I wanted to let everyone know that the Breaker Bots competed in Fresno, California this weekend, and we were part of the third seed alliance, and we placed second overall. We're looking forward to competing here in our own backyard at Seaside High School, and we're hoping people can come by and take a look. We'll be competing the Friday, the last day of March, and then Saturday, April 1st. So I believe that's March 31st and April 1st. For those who are not familiar with the robotics competitions, there is a round robin competition where we will be aligned with 2 other teams versus 3 other teams. And then it's always being mixed up who's on whichever team. Come Saturday at noon or right before lunch, then the top seeded teams will pick remaining teams to be on their alliance and compete for the finals championship. So looking forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you. And Louis, will you check to see if the person with their hand up online is a PGUSD staff member? Okay, can you unmute them and ask them?
No, I'm not a staff member. I'm a parent.
Okay, we thank you for being here. And actually the next item right after the staff comments is community members. And so please do stay on and you can keep your hand raised and we will get back to you at that time. Hello, staff member in person, please go ahead.
Hello, I'm Ann Scanlon. I'm the librarian at Robert Down. And I wanted to come tonight to thank Mr. Anderson and Mr. Jordan for their work to get my library open again. After 3 years of having to go out, it would be wonderful to have the kids come in again. So thank you both very much on behalf of myself and all the children.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Any other staff members that are here who would like to speak? And you can speak on any topic. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen Gordon. I work at I'm an English teacher at the high school. And I just want to reiterate a point that Matt Kelly brought up last week, that, and I think sometimes this point, and I brought it up last year too, gets lost when we talk about negotiations for PGTA. Year after year, and since I've been here, I think there's only been twice when the district hasn't done this. The district pushes negotiations past the middle or more recently and more often to the end of the school year, to the end of our contract year. And our retroactive checks do not include any interest for what is essentially an interest-free loan that we are giving the school district year after year. And at the same time, the district is making decisions about spending money throughout our contract year and pushing the priority for teachers' compensation to the bottom of the priority list. This school board needs to remember that quality schools directly correlate with quality of community life, along with enhanced property values. And as our frontline workers in education, teachers and other certificated staff should be our top priority. You can't put students first if you continue to put teachers last. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Any other staff members wishing to speak? Please go ahead.
Jen Erickson, PG High. Accepting the Educator of the Year award was an even greater honor because of this being Women's History Month. I'm grateful to all the brave women whose sacrifices paved the way for women like myself to find the courage to speak up for themselves and others. I've struggled my whole life with social anxiety and avoiding conflict, yet after years of asking for legal proof for why PGUSD denied tenure to CTE teachers, I knew it was time to stand up for my team. After much time, resolution finally came last month. Over the years, speaking up for my rights and those of students made me the target of retaliation and harassment. In 2019, an inquiry was made into my legitimate use of alcohol in recipes, which were part of the district adopted curriculum, which should have been a straightforward conversation with a readily accessible paper trail of administrative approvals was drawn out and used as an opportunity to attack with a barrage of alleged wrongdoing. Under the guise of a meeting to conclude the original issue, I was ambushed with accusations of this ilk, serving my children dinner at my own expense in my classroom while I worked late. The list amounted to half-truths, unchecked fabrications, assumptions, and rarely enforced quasi-policies. When I addressed the board about my feelings of being singled out and bullied, my concerns were not taken seriously. Behind the scenes, it was worse. Take this correspondence between Dr. Porras and Trustee Brian Swanson from 2019. Trustee Swanson, quote, "I hope Jen chills on the 'I'm horribly oppressed and live in fear' vibe." He continued, "We would just prefer she fall back in line," end quote. In reply, Dr. Porras, quote, "We also wish and hope that she will curtail the histrionics and get back to her work," end quote. For Women's History Month, all PG High staff were asked to report their plans to the board. As a woman with the aforementioned experiences being spoken of in the most misogynistic of terms by the head of our district, it is clear that while we may be paying lip service to the occasion, we have some work to do in fulfilling the promise. When a person in power uses their position to make a subordinate feel discomfort and is notified in writing, at what point do they deserve to be heard? Seek resolution. Is mockery ever acceptable? Women's History Month is about celebrating women who didn't fall back in line. They were called emotional hysterics, but they made history and inspired future generations. Community members, what type of women do we want as educators? Ones who are demoralized and devalued behind your backs while publicly being lauded, or leaders with integrity and the courage to stand tall? To all the women here tonight, our daughters and young women of this community, your feelings matter. Speak up for yourself and others. Trust your gut, ask questions, seek evidence, and be proud. Trustees, are you prepared to honor women's history by taking action to create a healthier district-wide work culture, one with safe, professional boundaries and accountability for all? Significant change is needed to ensure that the next chapter of our history accurately reflects the warmth, compassion, and inclusivity of this community. Thank you.
Jeff, Jen, thank you for your comments. And it's so board members were policymakers. And so when listening to your comments, a lot of times we'll refer someone who makes a comment, we'll refer them to maybe discuss further with a staff member. But to me, it sounds like there's a gap in our policy. And in order to remedy that, I would ask you to submit a future agenda item. And if you need help with that, I'm here. We have a hard copy available. It's a one-page form here tonight that you can use. We also have an online form. If you hit any snags, let me know. And we can review policy, and that would then get that item on the agenda so that the board can discuss it, and we will take it seriously. Thank you. Thank you for speaking
Carolyn?
up. Yes,
Is it okay if I add something?
sure.
Chef Jen, I really want you to know that I take this very seriously.
All right. Any other staff members, either online or in public, wishing to address the board? Louis, I don't see, I should say, I see that there are none online. And I don't see any other staff members here. Okay, thank you. So now we're just going to move on to the very next item, which is community members addressing the board. The same guidance is here. You get 3 minutes. There's this little counter here on the podium. It has a green, yellow, and red light. The green light will turn on when you begin. It's just like a stoplight. When it turns red, it means your 3 minutes have elapsed. So if you could respectfully close up your comments, you do not have to take the entire 3 minutes. And so we will alternate between people in person and online. It looks like we have one person online at this time. So we'll start with the first individual here in person. So please come on up to the podium. You're more than welcome to speak. Take a deep breath, and we are really excited to hear from all of you. Okay.
Hello, my name is Daisy Dishney, and I am Pacific Grove High School's ASB Fine Arts Commissioner. Our students have been informed recently of the effort to remove our current choir and replace it with a new version included in the school day. This change is not ideal for our student body for a variety of reasons. This would take away the accessibility for students to audition for multiple prestigious honor choirs. While the opportunity to audition for Central Coast Honor Choir will remain, the following will be removed: Regional Honor Choir, All-State, Western Division, and Nationals. Honor choirs are incredibly life-changing and create an immensely positive influence on students' careers as musicians. Other valuable opportunities which our choir has provided for students have been performing at Carnegie Hall, receiving workshops, working with nationally awarded choirs, performing at superintendent conferences, both women's and men's barbershop groups, and a jazz choir. This kind of decision is not considerate to our 11-year-long choir's legacy and will completely take away all of its accomplishments and dreams for the continuous development of choir and music education for students. Making the choir exclusive to the school day will remove the capability for many students to take the class. There will be conflicts with other electives, classes, and schedules. It is much too late in the school year to be forcing this impactful decision. Students have already chosen their classes for the upcoming year, and this abrupt removal of a successful and long-term aspect of our school will not create a positive impact. There have been so many individuals who have joined our choir and gone on to be very successful musicians with a yearning to learn more about music. Creating a weight-based choir class in the school day is unnecessary, as students choose to come on their Saturday mornings to learn and grow as musicians, and it has proven to work the best for students at our school which are interested in choral education. An alternative option is to make the new choir class a jazz choir and have the Saturday choirs remain in session. Having a jazz choir within the school day would have a highly positive impact on helping the spread of vocal jazz education and would work wonderfully with the already created jazz band. Our school has several students who are members of the Monterey Jazz Festival Vocal All-Star Ensemble, showcasing our vast interest in learning more about vocal jazz. This middle ground of having both the new jazz class in the day, as well as our regular Saturday choirs, would allow for both classes to work in harmony, allowing all individuals to have a choir opportunity. Jazz is a beautiful style of music, and vocal jazz would highly benefit from more time to focus and work on details in the style of its performance. Another class that would also be highly beneficial to the education of music within the school day is music theory. Both of these are great alternatives to add into our school day while keeping our valuable and successful regular choir on Saturdays, led by Michelle Boulware. I hope you will consider these two alternative classes and will allow our school to remain with its current Saturday choir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Louis, please go ahead and unmute the individual or individuals online.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so first of all, I wanted to thank the Forest Grove staff member that spoke before me earlier, because you've hit exactly all of the points that I will mention right now. So I will be speaking regarding the current school closures due to the storms. So we keep talking about unprecedented times, yet this weather is very common for this area. Yes, these storms were quite strong, yet they are going to return and they will happen again and again. Also, when we talk about unprecedented, we think that, you know, our school district, it exists in isolation, and it doesn't. We can dwell on the experience from other parts of the country, from other parts of California. Aroma's school district was able to hand out the computer devices to students and provide virtual instruction. For example, I'm just giving one of the examples. We do not exist in isolation, and calling this situation unprecedented might be a mistake. So as far as language of messages addressed, how we were addressed, us as parents, the mention of safety concern felt like the concerns for the safety of students felt like an offense to me. I'm a working single parent. I have 2 children who attend Forest Grove Elementary School, and they just spent 2 days unsupervised at home. They were home alone. I talked to PG police. They were okay with it. But I work for Department of Defense, and we have a mission to fulfill. And unfortunately, I cannot take off at will and last moment. So 2 of my kids were unsupervised. Anything could have happened. So please, if we could at least address the language of the messages and not say that we are concerned for student safety, because I don't think we truly were in this situation. So that being said, I wanted to thank you for the plan for tomorrow. That was wonderful to see. I wish we had seen it from the very beginning. Yet, you know, moving forward, it would be good to have schools open as much as possible, especially in a beautiful weather like we've been having. And so to continue with the plan moving forward, my question to you is makeup of instructional time lost. We lost 4 days of instruction, and nobody is even starting a discussion on how we're going to make it up. The school year is, I believe, around 180 days here. And all the other school districts, you know, across the country on the East Coast where they have snow days, they have a policy for makeup of lost instructional time. So it would be good to see and to hear what is being done to address that issue. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. And if you wouldn't mind, oh, we may have lost her. She may have logged off. I was going to ask if she could email to either Dr. Preciado or Dr. Portas, and you guys could get back to her and kind of talk to her about some of her questions and answer them. And maybe even develop a memo that can go out to all families, because her concerns sound to me like many of them. Are they? Oh, wonderful. If you're still online, would you mind sending an email to Dr. Portas? His email address is PORRAS@pgusd.org. You can copy the board if you like, but Dr. Portas is going to be the one who has the information for you. We appreciate your comments. Okay, next two people wishing to address the board, please go ahead.
Amber Hoffman will hand out packets on social emotional learning, referencing the Federation of State High School Associations. My name is Chase Erickson, and I am speaking on behalf of Elena Moore. I'm a senior at Pacific Grove High School, and I've been going here since 2nd grade. I have played all the sports, done theater, joined clubs, and been in almost everything at the school. I love going to a small school where everyone knows each other. And although I love this, often I feel a disadvantage of having a small school is the lack of options we have. Every year when picking classes comes around, there are extremely limited options on honors, electives, and other classes we can put in our schedules. You just have to hope your other classes do not conflict with any of your electives. Fully taking away choir on the weekend and making it only available during school would only increase this problem. I'm here to make my case on offering choir during the weekends. In middle school, choir was only offered during first period, But if you wanted to take multiple electives, you had to take first period PE. So I could only take choir in 6th grade when first period PE was not offered. So the opportunity to take this class on the weekend was a great relief. Both of my older sisters did this program all 4 years, and so have I. Choir has given me many opportunities that I would not have been able to do otherwise. The fact is, I would not have been able to do choir if it was during the school day. So it being on the weekends for me was perfect. I have auditions for CCS 4 times in middle school and never made it in for band or choir. It was not until my junior year that I had the courage and skills to try again and was able to represent PGHS. We also went to Carnegie Hall my junior year, which is and was an experience I never would have dreamed of. When we were able to go, because Dr. Bulwer was invited to conduct a concert there, he invited us to join him. I was not only able to meet people in the industry and see how professional choir works, but we were even given the opportunity to explore New York and sites like the Empire State Building. And we also were able to see 2 Broadway shows. I feel I have a unique perspective as a senior. If you are not familiar with college applications, allow me to tell you what I have experienced. With both UC and Common Apps, I feel there are different sections specific sections students must fill out. But there are 3 main sections I feel are relevant to this conversation: the activity list, classes, and essay. If choir was only a class, I could only put it on my transcript or talk about, sorry, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because of the amount that I have here. I believe that the best method is to have choir on Saturdays and a different choir in school. The one in school should be more focused on a specific style of music, such as jazz choir or show choir. This would give people the opportunity to take it during the school day if they cannot come on the weekend, and during the weekend for people who don't have room in the schedules. We already have a very successful model with this play production and drama classes, allowing people to have more of a choice in the way they practice with their activities. I truly hope you are willing to listen to the students, because choir has meant a lot to many people. I feel I was able to grow as a performer and learn about music and my voice. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. We do have someone online raising their hand. So Lewis, do you mind unmuting?
Hello, my name is Casey.
Hello.
I just wanted to comment on the communication during the most recent weather-related events. There's so many topics tonight that are so near and dear to my heart. But I think that in the big scheme of things, with the weather and the state of emergency, with road closures, flooding, power outages, and so many different obstacles to juggle, I was fortunate and appreciative of the communication I did get. As a parent, it's my job to plan for the worst. It's my job to make sure that my children are supervised and in the best care. If that means that the school is considering closing because there's no heat, power, electricity, or enough adequate coverage, then I appreciate that judgment call. I personally have hired nannies and provided backup emergency plans for my family because of the environment we live in with storm forecasts across the news. This is the new norm. The school district is a public school. They are not responsible to babysit our kids while we go to work. We're fortunate enough to live in a very affluent community, and if you don't have the resources, there are many charities, nonprofit, volunteer organizations, and resources available to the community. I pay a lot of money to live in this town. I'm a 4th-generation family. And I will say, any communication with no cell signal is better than none. I am very much grateful and appreciative for the effort that's been put forth. And I've had good and bad experiences with this district. I've also previously had my kids in private school. I give them nothing but accolades and positive reinforcement for any and all efforts that have been put forth. And I just wanted to make that known, and I wanted to make it on the record. Thank you for my time.
Thank you. Next individual in person liking to address the board. Hello.
Hello. Hi, I'm Aurelia Serpa, and I'm a freshman at Pacific Grove High School. I came home from choir distraught last month after I heard the high school would no longer be offering a Saturday choir program. Or rather, the program will be offered, but only during the school day. While this might be a positive change for some students, for others it is not. I, for instance, have already picked my classes. I'm taking a very rigorous schedule, and adding choir would mean I would either have to drop an elective or have a heavier academic load. Additionally, for some of my friends, taking choir outside the school day allows them to succeed without the stress of homework or assessment. They are simply in a place with like-minded peers doing something that they love. Choir offers a real sense of belonging, encourages student and civic engagement, not to mention the collective expression of singing together can transform lives. As you may know, the Bowlers have been supporting this community with choir and musicals for over 10 years. They work with middle to high school students and have provided an anchor for many, such as myself, through very difficult times. I've had the privilege to work with these amazing people for 2 years, but I'm not willing to give up the next 3. They offer a safe place for students to shine outside of the classroom environment. And while I see the benefit of offering choir during the school day, I also see the advantages of offering a club outside of it. Choir students support each other through the trials of high school life. To many, choir is an anchor, a support system, a sport, if you will, like football, water polo, or cheer. There is just something about getting up every Saturday at 10 a.m. and the shared experience of sleep-deprived teenagers hopped up on donuts, singing together with no concerns over homework or assessments. That in and of itself should say something about our dedication. I can attest to the fact that the tears and speeches shared the Saturday after the news was spread were heartbreaking. As a student, I can tell you that kids in our community are struggling with mental health right now. I see it all around me at school, with my friends and in my family. That being said, instead of taking things away from kids right now, we should only be adding support. Please consider keeping the music and arts alive by continuing to fund out-of-school choir. Thank you.
Thank you. Louis, do we have anyone? Louis, do we have anyone online? Nobody. And Louis, can you give me the ability to start my video, please? Next person in person, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Sarah Archon. I'm a junior at Pacific Grove High right now. I think I'd just like to start off with, I know that everything has been really crazy in the past week with all the power outages, but as well as with the choir here. And you've heard a lot of the same points. But I'm here, I want to talk about more of the feedback that we've been given, because the information that we have currently is things that we have kind of had to fight for to figure out. So one of the reasons that we were hearing that the choir was being taken out is because we needed more electives at our school, which is an amazing thing. The arts is a topic that needs to be more supported as a whole in America. I think we can agree. But one thing that we aren't considering is that students who have signed up for certain classes, such as music appreciation, will now not have that option because that is the class that they will be taking out of the schedule. There are certain students that are probably going to be very disappointed by this, and they might not want to join choir because those are 2 very different subjects. And people like myself have already applied to classes, and I don't have room in my schedule for another class, unfortunately. And I know of a few other people that have that same situation. And as someone who's been doing choir since the 5th grade, it's very saddening because that means certain things that I love to do and others love to do, we cannot do anymore. And it is simply not an option. And we can look through outside sources, but really Michelle and Sean have offered up so many opportunities that we cannot find in other places. And also currently we are getting credits for this class. They don't go towards our GPA, but given that it is a choir and we're all giving our time on Saturdays, it is something that I don't really take into consideration because I have so much love for the arts and I have so much love for working as a group that that's not something that is at the top of my mind. And also students who may not see this class as legitimate, unfortunately, that is the truth, they may just join this class for an easy A, so to say. And it's unfortunate, but that is the case. And sometimes you just need something to fill your schedule and you don't have a choice. And we are willing to raise money if they keep a Saturday choir. And I love the idea that other people have mentioned about a jazz choir because I'm also a part of the Monterey Jazz Choir, and we will be performing at certain things. And a lot of that choir is made up of PG students. So if we implement it into the school day, there's a high likelihood that people will love that because not only is it more specific and targeted for people who will like that, but they currently implemented this year the jazz band, and that has been so successful. So if we implement a choir, like Daisy mentioned earlier, they'll be able to work together very cohesively, and people who really are passionate about it will be able to join. Also, one of the things that I have come across is that it will limit kids having it on Saturdays, It will limit them if they work or if they can't get transportation, which that is a truth. But right now, many kids have already applied, and Saturday mornings are a decently flexible time. So to my understanding, a lot more kids are going to have this opportunity taken away from them. So offering an option where they can both take an in-class and have a club outside will be very viable. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to interject here about the choir and so the open meeting law that we all fall under, we're not allowed to discuss things that are not on our agenda. The choir is not on our agenda. I'm not cutting anyone off from their public comment. You will get to continue. But I wanted to chat with Ralph really quickly. And Ralph, can you guide the students in how they can advocate for some sort of solution to continue a Saturday choir? And maybe the solution is that Lito is here somewhere. I think maybe Lito can have a meeting with the students and they can brainstorm a way to kind of remedy this. And if there is a part of it that is within the board's jurisdiction to make a decision on, they can then submit a future agenda item. I mean, is that okay with Lito and with you for the students to have a meeting with him and brainstorm?
Sure. I don't know if they've already had a meeting or not. I know that they've met with all of the current choir students in terms of asking about interest of the class. And so I think additional meetings can work with that. I think a piece of it in consideration, and we again have to be part of the discussion.
We don't want to discuss.
Yeah,
I
think meeting with Principal Garcia, I'm happy to join the meeting as well.
Okay. Great.
There's an element of this is in regards to, this is a negotiable item as well. So
Okay.
it falls within jurisdiction of contract.
Okay.
So those are items that we need to talk about. And we can talk with the students a little bit about that.
Yes,
but
please.
ultimately that's not, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So that would be great if the students know that they can get a meeting going and you guys can kind of hash this out.
Yeah.
And bring it back if it is something that we can help you with. Okay, please, I didn't mean to interrupt you all. Please continue with your public comment.
Hi there, my name is Claire Cossum and I'm a sophomore at Pacific Grove High School. This is my first year being in a choir. I never thought I would get the chance to. I'm hoping to pursue a career in engineering, and I've been offered to take computer science classes, and I hope to continue to do that, and next year I will not have room in my schedule to take the choir. I've always wanted to take part in the arts, which I've already done through band, which I also don't want to lose. But being able to take part in the choir on Saturdays has provided me with such a great place to not be judged to go to the choir, because everyone who comes, every single morning they wake up and choose to go. So being able to go to the choir and have the confidence to learn how to sing with such a great great group of people and with teachers that really care, it's provided me with such a good outlet to learn how to experience the arts, and it's really enriched me. And I've gained the confidence. I'm actually doing the musical this year, so this choir means a lot to me, even though I'm not technically an arts person, but it's already provided me with such valuable skills, and not being able to continue that and losing that is really painful to me. And I just want to say that as someone who isn't math and science student, that being able to take part in the arts is so important to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Louis, no one online, correct? No one online? Okay, please come up. Thank you so much for being here.
Good evening. My name is Dakota Bulware. I'm also here to talk about choir. You've all heard many reasons why we believe this is, in a word, unacceptable, and I guess in a phrase, not exactly hard to look for a phrase, but not I guess in a way not totally welcome in the minds of us students. So I'm just going to keep this to a small experience, if I may. I was a kid who was forced to do choir because of my parents, and yes, I used to laugh at that too, but I used to think that the choir was something that I could never pursue, that I would be made fun of. I had no confidence in anything I could possibly do as a part of the choir. But as I grew to expand my musical knowledge and attend the honor choirs and the multiple festivals I've been a part of, I grew this love for the musical arts and specifically for choir. And to be a part of this high school choir is amazing. I go to this high school choir and I'm ready to sing. I'm ready to express my feelings. Music in this choir has shown me a different way to express my feelings other than sports and football and rage. But this choir has helped me grow mentally, has helped me grow physically, and to hear that this is being taken away from Saturdays, and I do mention being taken away from my family and my parents who have worked in who have shared memories, who have created history with the kids in this choir is heartbreaking. This choir has been in my family for more than 10 years. They've put their life, their blood, their sweat, their tears into this choir, and to take it away from them would be horrible, and in my opinion, bit of a overstatement, but would be a crime in my opinion. This choir has helped many students that I know, many of my friends, to break out of their shells, to experience new things in their life that they thought they could never ever try because they would either be harassed, embarrassed, they would be not confident enough in themselves. And choir is something that takes that confidence and creates it, makes it new, makes it bigger, makes it brighter. And taking this away from them, taking this away from my parents, taking this away from my family would be horrible. Thank you.
Thank you. Louis, will you unmute our person online, please? Thank you so much. There was somebody online who had their hand up. I think it was Laurel Bowen. Laurel, did you still want to speak? Please raise your hand back up if you do. While we're waiting for Lauren online, is there anyone else? This reminder is a time for any community member to come up and speak. You don't have to have a perfect speech. You can just come up and say something if you haven't already. You get 3 minutes. Yes, please. Yes, wonderful.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm very emotional, so don't just ignore it. My name is Erin Deegan, and I wrote you guys a letter this week, and I really appreciate your feedback and getting back to me. Everybody on the board was awesome, and so is Mr. Steinbeck. As a parent of 2 choir students, a freshman incoming and a senior, it's heartbreaking that this program is going to be dismantled. Thank you. I've worked with the Bullwares for several years. I am the set designer for the middle school and the high school musicals, and I also do the costumes with some other ladies and my husband. And I just want to talk about the inclusivity of the choir. I have 2 children that are LGBTQ, and this choir is a place of safety and a family for them. And this is something that won't happen in the school day. So it's really important that we kind of keep in mind the type of kids that are in the arts. They're not the typical necessarily outgoing. I mean, some of them definitely are. You've seen some amazing kids tonight, right? But they also are more sensitive. They don't have a lot of friends sometimes, and this choir has given them an opportunity to have a family. The Bullwares have talked about suicide with their class. They've talked about, everything. It's an opportunity for kids to speak their mind. And they become a team and they work together, and they're just such amazing children. And I've loved working with them for I've worked with all these kids over the years, and I really think it would be a travesty if this was taken away from them. And that's really all I wanted to say. And I really appreciate Ralph Porras and President Swanson for giving the kids an opportunity to have an avenue to work with this school. Because to date, we've had very little interaction with Principal Garcia. He basically just sent us a copy and paste reply. So it would be really a great opportunity if we could talk to him and have him understand, or the kids in him, really what he's taking away. And I think the kids have come up with really great options. Like, you know, let's do something different. I mean, there's opportunities that the school can take and, you know, improve the arts program instead of take away from the arts program. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have someone online with their hand up. It looks like Laurel Bowen.
Hello. I didn't realize I didn't think I was gonna be able to speak tonight because I'm actually currently in a rehearsal right now for a musical. And I just wanted to say that I think removing the choir class on Saturday will definitely be a really, really big change for a lot of students. Like Aaron and a lot of other people were saying, the Bullwares have created a safe space for a lot of students. And for me, I'm an alumni. I graduated in 2022. I was a part of their programs since middle school. And I know with all of the stuff I did during my high school career and middle school career, I didn't have enough time to do choir. I wouldn't have enough time to do choir if it was during the week. And being able to do that on a Saturday, I think Chase was talking on behalf of Elle. Like Elle was saying, with it being on Saturday, it gives the opportunity for those who don't have the chance to take it during the school day. And I think taking that away would would negatively alter a lot of students' lives. Sorry, I didn't really prepare that much. So sorry if I'm stuttering. But Sean and Michelle have created a safe place and have taken their time out of Saturdays so students can have the chance to I'm sorry, I'm trying to find my words. They give the students the opportunity. And like everyone else is saying, they've given so many students opportunities. And I just think it would be the wrong decision to take that Saturday class away.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in public that would like to speak here in person? Make sure my glasses fogged up for a moment. We do have someone, so please approach the microphone, and then Christine Gruber, I see your hand is up. We'll get to you next.
Hi, I just wanted to, again, with the choir, I wanted to address the fact, and I think it's also important not only to say that the choir should maybe work hand in hand, because we do want to keep all educators. We want to keep Dr. Warren. We want to make sure he's full-time. We want to make sure that Michelle, because I think that's the thing that's kind of not been said. I mean, they say the Bullwares, they say, you know, it's very important to have them continue be a part of the Saturday choir, because they have created that safe space. She's worked for 11 years to build up this program. So to have it taken away from Saturday is, like the students said, taking away the ability for them to take choir, and then pretty much canceling the successful program because they might not be able to take it during the school week. So even though we want Dr. Warren to maintain a full-time position, this might not be the way to do it. Like they said, the avenues of jazz choir and stuff like that. But once you have a successful educator, you have a successful program, she provides time outside to coach for the audition tapes for honor choir. They have like all this stuff that happens. Don't we want to keep those kind of people in our district? Don't we want to have successful programs that we can be proud of, that people call in, you know, from college to say, because they really love the program? That's a win. You know, we want to have that in our district. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. I didn't catch your name. Thank you. Okay, we'll bounce online. If anyone is remaining who would like to speak, please make your way up to the podium. We are getting to the end of public comment, so we're going to close down unless we see somebody move up. Okay, Christine, please go ahead.
Yes, I just want to reiterate, I mean, the Bullwares have created a program that started with 6 students, And now it runs between 30 to 40 kids in a school year, getting up on a Saturday morning to go attend a class for a pass-fail grade. This means volumes. And like they said, the family that is created each year with those kids is amazing. I have seen it myself with my own children, and just the love is felt in that room. And now I'm going to cry like Aaron, but it means a lot. And Daisy had some really great ideas. And I really hope you will all take that to heart and listen to what these kids are telling you, what these parents are telling you. It means a lot. What the Bullwares are doing is a lot. And instead of taking something away, add more, add more. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Anyone in public, in person, like to say anything? Okay. So no one in person, which means there's one person online. So we're gonna have this last person, looks like Kathleen Lee, speak, and then that will be the end of public comment. So please go ahead, Kathleen Lee.
Thank you, Chair Swanson, and thank you, members of the board. I just wanted to stand up and share support for the comments that Ms. Erickson read earlier. I'm struck by a number of things. We have to acknowledge that words have power, and the power of the words that were shared tonight are really deeply disturbing because it reflects what two individuals thought might be a private conversation and reflects how a staff member, a parent, a teacher was treated by the administration, and that was not upheld in a court of law. I also think that what's so distressing to me is looking at the audience tonight and seeing the people that have spoken up. In my experience with the school board, the majority of the engagement at a school level is between mothers and the administration and the teachers. So when you have an administration that dismisses and insults the majority of individuals who are engaging with the district, it really is deeply offensive. And I just want to say that for someone whose concerns about my child were so readily dismissed and not taken seriously, it was a very painful decision to decide to leave the district, but we did so. And to see that that behavior was not just to us, but to other people, just profoundly makes me sad. And I hope that you will really take a hard look at how people who have the courage to speak truth to power are treated and how seriously you take those concerns. You can't change the past, but the only thing you can do is go forward and learn from that experience. And we're trying to teach our kids about bullying, about treating each other with respect and kindness. I think of those pillars at Forest Grove about character. But you know, we're not going to get it from our children if we're not modeling it as adults. And I just want to say at the end, we're not living in Salem, Massachusetts. We aren't hysterical women. We are women who, yes, sometimes have emotion, but it is because we fiercely love these kids in our community that we have the courage to speak up. And I hope that everyone has the courage to listen and really sense of checking their own behavior to see, am I part of the problem or am I part of the solution? I thank you for the work that you do. I know it is often long hours without a lot of gratitude, but it's deeply important. And I hope that you hear the passion tonight, not just for Jen's comments and Women's History Month, but also these students who had the courage to advocate for themselves. And kudos to all of them for being such excellent public speakers. That's really quite remarkable. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen Lee. We appreciate your comments, and I'm not sure if you heard earlier, but we do have a new system for submitting future agenda items. So if there is a policy related item you'd like to submit, please do. You're not here in person, so you would probably want to use the online version. And I do believe I have your email address, so I will send you that at the end of the meeting, the link for that. So thank you. That concludes our public comment. Thank all of you for coming and standing this whole time, some of you, and contributing to this meeting. We greatly appreciate it. It's 7:53 now, so we're gonna move on to the next part of our meeting. And I actually do believe that it's a good idea for us to take a 5-minute break. Anyone who feels the need to leave, it's totally okay for you to leave. You don't have to stay for the whole thing. If you'd like to stay, please do. We are half an hour behind in my estimated timing rubric. So just like on an airplane, we'll make up the time somehow. So here we are. Consent agenda is what we're on to next. I'm going to go around and ask the board if they have any comments or items they would like to pull. I'm going to start with Clerk McNary.
No comments and nothing to pull. Thanks.
Okay, Trustee Otmar.
I have a comment, and my comment is that I have been assured that all the self-attestation parts of the independent contractor agreements in the packet are outliers, and that moving forward, this contract will no longer contain a self-attestation for fingerprinting. And so all the independent contractors are going to be verified by DOJ. And so in light of that, I've got nothing to pull.
Okay, thank you so much. Trustee Brian Swanson online.
No questions or anything to pull. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to say on certificated assignment, I just have comments. I don't have anything to pull. Item B, Shane resigning. Is he here? He left. Or perhaps he's outside. Shane's online. Okay, fabulous. Shane, you will be greatly missed. You are a true advocate for students. I don't want to take too much time because I think others have other things to say, but I wanted to say that personally. Different topics. I did also want to thank Rotary for the water bottle filling stations. And that's all I have on consent. So after me, Trustee Student Avila.
I'm all good. Thank you.
I change your title each time. I'm sorry. Student trustee, student. Trustee Hazen.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I have nothing because the district staff did such a great job answering questions. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. We do submit questions in advance and we got a lot of answers in advance. So thank you. Most of those came from Assistant Superintendent Joshua Jordan. So thank you so much. I'm going to go to public comments. There's no one here in person making their way up to the podium, and thank you, Lewis. There appears to be no one online either. So with that, I'm just going to glance around at the trustees and see if anything has popped in your head. Trustee Brian, I can see you. So if you have anything, no, you're shaking your head. Okay. We are ready for a motion on this. If anyone would like to make a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. I'll second. Motion made by Trustee McNary, seconded by Carolyn Swanson. Roll call vote when you get a moment, Mandy.
Yeah, that works. Anything works. Aye.
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 I'm gonna say aye. I can't hear Mandy, but feels like the time to say it.
Thank you. You're right on once again. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all so much. Moving on to our walk-on item very quickly. Assistant Superintendent Jordan, do you have anything to add on that item?
I have nothing to add other than what I've submitted. If there's any questions, I'm open.
And you know what? I haven't had a chance to even look at it. So I'm going to open my blue folder right now. If trustees have their blue folder, this is a walk-on. Ralph, remind me, do we have 2 walk-ons tonight? Thank you. Okay, so first, I should have been more specific which walk-on we're talking about, I guess. Well, I mentioned Joshua Jordan, so we're going to talk about his. So this is the walk-on transportation expenditure plan for 22-23. I'm going to read it just to myself quietly. I don't know. Should I read it out loud? Yeesh. No.
Like a summary.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to take a moment as trustees to read this.
Can I make a suggestion?
Of course.
Can we ask for a short summary from Assistant Superintendent Jordan?
You
to
are
assist us?
brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is actually a new item for our district. Under LCFF, local control formula funding districts, they receive their fraction of their home to school transportation funded. This is new. This took place this year. So what I'm submitting today is the transportation plan, and that's on the back. So the cover sheet does give you a summary, but essentially the plan shows all of our transportation related costs. The fact that students that are on the free and reduced meal plan receive free bus passes, and that we transport all students under an IEP and special needs. So this is essentially the state giving a basic aid school district potentially $115,258, which would go back to local 7900, which is where we fund our transportation program out of. So this is great news for our district, and this is an ongoing apportionment that we will receive annually. The reason why this is a walk-on item is I was just informed of this week on Tuesday. We will plan ahead and plan better for next fiscal year.
Mhm.
The apportionment will be released at the end of this fiscal year, but we have to have it approved by the 1st of April.
Understood. Thank you. From that and from my very quick reading of it, I don't see anything that would deter me from voting in favor of this. Trustees, I'm just going to okay, go ahead, Elliot.
Yep, just a quick question on that. I mean, there's no change in the cost of this. It's just accepting the money as part of this, in which case I agree with what President Carolyn mentioned.
That's correct. We're reporting our actual costs and we get a fractional apportionment based on that.
Okay, then I'm going to just go around briefly. Clerk McNary.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, Trustee Otmar.
No
Okay,
questions.
thank you so much. We heard from Dr. Hazen. Student Trustee Avila.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, and Trustee Brian Swanson online.
Just a quick question. You'd said that the state was giving us 115 grand, but as I'm looking at it, and just to clarify, I think, aren't they actually giving us 60% reimbursement, so we get 220?
So great question. So the projected is 115,258, and you're correct, it is 60%. We just don't have all of our full complete year expenditures into this report as of yet. So you are correct. It will go based on the 60% final expenditure that we report at the end of the fiscal year.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
Well, now I have a question because my copy says total of 158,258 for the fiscal impact at the bottom. It's the walk-on dance. Okay.
It was a typo.
It's okay.
Yeah, so it's 115,258.07
15 to 50.
as indicated on the back of the expenditure plan, and the cover sheet is a typo.
Okay. So if that can just be adjusted so public record is accurate, and I trust that that will happen. Mandy, I see you taking notes back there furiously, so thank you so much. Do I have a motion to approve this?
I will so move.
I'll second. So motion made by Trustee Brian Swanson, seconded by Carolyn Swanson. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 Trustee
Aye.
Brian Swanson. Yeah, you got it, Brian. Okay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. Moving on to the next walk-on item. Oh, you know what? I failed. I should have asked for public comment during that. I'm so sorry I did the vote without it. So, Beth, do you have any public comment? Oh, you're shaking your finger at me because I made a mistake. Ouch. Okay. Beth, do you want to come up here? Okay, sure. Anyone online? Okay, seeing no one online, I apologize for skipping public comment on that item. Moving on to our next item. This is also a walk-on item. It's a contract for services with GJ Phillips Special. This is Lito Garcia, principal of the Pacific Grove High Schools item. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Garcia? Brian, I'll start with you.
Nothing here. Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any questions. Student Trustee Avila?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Hazen.
None.
Thank you. Clerk McNary.
No.
Trustee Otmar. Nope. Okay, we don't have any trustee questions. I don't see anyone coming up from the public to say anything. And Louis, you've checked online thoroughly and there's no one there. So looking back around to see if anything popped in your minds. Okay, do I have a motion to approve this?
I'll move to approve the contract for services with DJ Philip Special.
Thank you, Clerk McNary. Anyone second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Otmar. So motion made by Clerk McNary, seconded by Trustee Otmar. Roll call vote, please. Mandy.
Aye.
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 Right.
Aye.
Ryan? Yes. You know what? I don't even have to call it out for you. You're right on schedule with the rhythm. Not surprising. So I'll stop calling it out for you. Okay, thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to our first public hearing of the evening. This is a public hearing that Buck Rogaman, Director of Curriculum and Special Projects, is going to present for us. It's a hearing on the Living Earth 2020 textbook for 9th and 10th grade biology at Pacific Grove High School. Director Rogaman's giving us some textbooks right now. And we are going to open the public hearing right now at 8:10.
Thank you, President Swanson. As part of our effort to update the instructional materials at the high school, we're trying to take a long-term strategic plan to replace some of our worn out textbooks, one of which that you're holding, with an upgraded modern textbook. There's a description of them in the board packet. The first one that we're holding the public hearing on right now is the Living Earth. It's published in 2020. And you're going to notice some significant differences between that and the current biology text by Glencoe that we have been using. One is that this edition is going to be far more portable. And it also is a consumable product, meaning that the students can do interactive close reading techniques with it. They can mark up the text and annotate the text as they're reading it, because that textbook is going to be renewed every year of this 6-year contract. One of the other things that we're trying to strive to do with all of the adoptions is first view these textbooks through that lens of equity for our students and access for all students. And the Spanish support materials are excellent for the Living Earth. There's actually a Spanish version of the book that we have. There's also a glossary of scientific terms that's translated into 15 different languages for our students. And also there are teacher materials for helping our emerging bilingual students access the content. So we think that that's going to be a real strength of the program. And even more than that, there's a robust online component to this as well. So this is going to represent a significant upgrade for the biology program. There were 3 other textbooks that were considered by the department. And I have to be honest that the science department are the ones that do the heavy lifting. They're the experts. They're the ones that are going to be using these materials, and they know what is going to appeal best to our students. And so this is the textbook that they've recommended that we hold the public hearing on and eventually adopt.
Thank you so much, Director Rogaman. I'm actually going to start off the comments of this item. So my question is, if you could walk us through how you bring in student voice and maybe even community member voice into these textbook decisions.
We put the decision in the hands of our teaching staff. That it was the teaching staff that went through this. They're the ones that have contact with the students and the families more than I do. And so it was their expertise that we relied on for the choosing of these textbooks and these materials. It's similar to the process that we've used in the past. And so we're relying on the expertise of the instructors.
Okay. No student voice, no community member voice.
The teachers are the ones that made the decision on this textbook. Yes.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. So I'll let the rest of the board make some comments. Student trustee Avila.
So these textbooks are going to be replacing the hardbound ones?
Yes, sir.
I like that. They're more portable and a little smaller, so I like that.
A little student voice at least.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Trustee Hazen.
Just one quick comment. Do you know is there any opportunity for it to be available as a PDF type document?
Yes,
to the
that's
student?
part of the online component. So there is a digital version of the text that both students and the public can have access to as well.
I might have another one after I read page 533, but that's it
You
for
got
now.
I'll come back to you. As you know, we do 2 rounds, so take your time, but hurry on that, and we'll move on to Clerk McNary.
I don't have any questions on this item.
Okay, thank you so much. Trustee Otmar.
I don't have any questions. I'd like to look at it again, but I mean, it's great that it's PDF. It's great that it's online. It's great that it's more portable. I'm assuming all the information in it is everything that they need if the teachers are approving of it. I mean, and we have raise approval. I feel good.
I think the one thing I didn't mention either is the previous textbook was I had a copyright of 2012 and was purchased in 2014. So this would be an updated version with much more current content. And it also aligns with the next generation science standards, whereas the previous textbook was published before the adoption of those in our state.
Thank you. Trustee Brian Swanson.
Director Rogerman, thank you for just the additional detail that you provided and what you just shared too, that the last one you said was, what did you say? Copyright of 2012 and adopted for the district in 2014, which sort of answered my other questions. Like, so we're bringing in a textbook that's sort of a few years old, but I'm also guessing that happens because there's an opportunity to let it get tested by other people and see what happens with that. How many people is it everybody within the science department, or is it everybody takes a look at it?
Yes, everybody within the science department takes a look. I believe it's a 5-member department. And this was the unanimous choice that it was by far the preference that they had. One of the things the science department did was opt for a 6-year as opposed to an 8-year adoption. And part of the reason is that because it's published in 2020, in 6 years, it'll be 2029, and it might be a good time to refresh it. So one of the things that we're doing in our department is to plan for that and to put in a budget item 6 years from now to purchase an upgraded and updated science textbook. So we're trying to be strategic and plan out this purchase so that we don't run into the situation that we are now at the high school, which is kind of a backlog of textbooks that I'm not sure we're really proud of as we hand to our students just based on the condition that they're in. So we're trying to give our students a better product.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
Sure.
And if you're good with it and the department is good with it and Ray is good with it, I'm good with it too. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Trustee Brian Swanson. I'm going to go out to the public and see if there's any comments here in person. We only have one member of the public here in person, so I'm just kind of looking at you, Beth, and then we're going to look online and see if there's anyone online. And I see Lewis saying there is not. Let's give it a moment. In the meantime, trustees, has anything else? Oh, go ahead, Elliot.
Just quickly, I want to, very impressed with some of the updated information in here for my quick skim. One thing I just want to mention, in response to your comment, Trustee Carolyn, about the engagement, I think this would be the time to have student and public engagement on the textbook would be here. I mean, I realize that might not be as good as having them dig in, but it is nice that we have it on the agenda for them to be able to.
Yeah, I know. Public hearing is for the public. It's just, you can see how little public input we are getting.
I
So
completely understand that. And the only thing I will say is, one thing, and I'm going to forget the exact verbiage for this, but I'll tell a very quick story. My son woke up one night with a huge nightmare, age of 8. I was like, what's going on? He said, I'm used to a number of my nightmares. I won't repeat them here, but he was saying that he was afraid he was swimming in the ocean and all the animals were dead. And so one of the things I want to mention to this is there is a real potential negativity, even if it is the truth. I would love to just think a little bit about the SEL side of that we are talking a lot about habitat loss, introduced species, climate change. How do we make sure that children realize there are some positive things they can do coming out of high school, obviously, hopefully they're not having those nightmares anymore, but just a point I want to raise because that is important to me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would it be reasonable or unreasonable, and I know you'll give me an honest answer, would it be reasonable to, in the future, ask staff such as yourself to recruit a couple members of the public and bring them, or at least have them submit some public comment on, like, do a little shaking of the bushes to try to encourage the public and participation of the public hearing?
Sure, I think that we could do that. I think the other aspect that we could do is before we bring the textbook to the public hearing, that once the department recommends a textbook, that we can sit down with like a student focus group and kind of get their thoughts on the textbook. I think having them try to evaluate four different textbooks, that's not their level of expertise, and we want to leave that in the hands and respect our teachers.
Yeah, it's a
know,
balance.
in that process. However, to get some feedback from students before we come to the public. Honestly, and Ray, you can help me out with this. I think that if we're going to get students to give feedback on this, we're going to be much more successful if we go to the high school and meet them there than if we expect them to come from the high school down to the district office into our beautiful lobby to look at the books. Is that right?
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that.
Right.
Easier to just get them where they already are.
And so I think we can have that be part of the process. And correct me if I'm wrong, this is a public hearing. It's not an approval of the textbooks tonight. Is that correct, Superintendent Portas? Yeah. So then I think that one of the things I'm perfectly willing to do is to take the textbook to the high school and get some input from the students and then report back out. I'll put the old one and the new one side by side and let them take the Pepsi challenge.
Yeah. And remember, I think it was Forest Grove Site Council. We did like an open house night where we were adopting, I think it was new curriculum, maybe math curriculum. Perhaps it wasn't
Yes, it was
exactly a
probably Swan.
textbook. Yeah. But we kind of opened that up and had folks come to that. So
Right.
just some sort of level of like inching up in our public outreach on everything we do, because you did a perfectly fine job tonight, of course. But next time, if we could get a little bit more input would be fabulous. Okay, I still don't see any members of the public wanting to speak online or otherwise. And I'm looking at our trustees and I'm looking at Brian online. I can see your face, nothing. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. With this, because there is not a vote, we can just close the public hearing because I'm seeing no public participation whatsoever. So it is 8:22. Thank you so much, Director Rogman. Okay, moving on to our next item. Director Rogman is not going out too far because it is also a public hearing of chemistry in the Earth System, a textbook for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade chemistry at Pacific Grove High School. And I'm going to hit the gavel right now at 8:22 and open public hearing. So please, if you have a couple sentences about the book.
Sure. I think that one of the things to note with the old chemistry textbook is it was published in 2006, which was also the year that it was adopted. So the chemistry book was probably even more overdue for an upgrade than the biology book. And so this is also a Houghton Mifflin Harcourt product. And in a similar vein, it is a consumable text so that the students, once again, are going to be able to use close reading and interactive reading as they annotate the text while they're reading. The chemistry text also comes with support materials to help students address the needs of our emerging bilingual students. However, it doesn't have a Spanish version of the book like the Living Earth does. Once again, it was the unanimous choice by the science department, has a very robust online component where the current online component for the chemistry book is expired. So there is no online component for our current chemistry text. So once again, it's part of our effort to upgrade. It will be a 6-year adoption, and we are that we can do the same kind of student feedback process with this after we close the public hearing and kind of get their hands on it and get their thoughts on, the new version of the chemistry text.
Thank you, Buck. I'm going to start with trustee student Avila, if you want to start the comments off on this.
Yeah, again, same thing. I'm familiar with the chemistry book as well. So that wasn't my best class ever, but
mine either.
Okay, yeah, it's a tough subject. But the interactive books I'm a fan of. It's easier to work out of because the information and then your work is right there. So big fan of that.
Thank you. Trustee Hazen?
I like the fact that they are, looks at least designed similarly, so it helps with not having to learn multiple structures. So yeah, they look great. Thank you.
Clerk McNary?
I don't have any questions, but thank you, Director Rogoman, for being willing to go out and get more feedback from the students. I really appreciate that.
Happy to do it.
Trustee Otmar?
It looks very digestible. I am a fan of chemistry and just reading through this, I mean, I could see how it would be a lot more digestible for somebody that might not be a fan of chemistry. Thank you so much for being willing to do that. And I had a question about the old textbooks. Did you get the worst looking ones or they all look like this? They all look like
Okay,
this?
I'll be honest because I don't lie. I did ask Ms. Yushikov to pick out some that would prove our point that it was time to adopt some new textbooks. Yes. So
There's some old, probably wet pages in there that were very questionable. So,
we'll get some hand sanitizer for the board. So yeah.
Okay, Trustee
That's all I have.
Brian. Sorry, Laura, I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay, Trustee Brian Swanson?
No questions or comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then it's down to me. So, so you said there isn't a Spanish equivalent?
Right. So the Living Earth actually has a Spanish version of the book. The chemistry does not have a Spanish version. If they do include a Spanish version in future years, then we would purchase that as well. And I don't know if the publisher plans on having a Spanish version.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't expect you to know that one, but so walk us through a little bit. What do our emerging bilingual students use?
So currently, they would be using the chemistry textbook that we have there. Keep in mind that
The previous one, you mean?
Right, yeah.
Okay,
So
the old
they'd be
one.
using the previous book.
Okay.
What they have to support them is going to be that glossary of scientific terms, and Spanish is one of the languages that will have those scientific terms in it, along with the other 15 languages. That was the first time that I'd seen a resource like that. So that'll be very helpful. And then our teachers are all trained in specially designed academic instruction in English to support the emerging bilingual students in their classes. And these books all come with resources to help teachers identify strategies and techniques that will help with the content that they're teaching. So there are support materials for the teacher to use to help teach our emerging bilingual students.
Okay,
In fact, I think they're on display.
okay. I will go to the public now. During this public hearing, I hope to hear from some members of the public. Beth, I'm looking at you. Thank you so much. And if anyone online would like to speak, we would absolutely love to hear from you. Please raise your hand digitally. We'll get right to you.
Okay, Beth Shamas. I think it's good to be as transparent as you can with your curriculum, especially in these days, because we've seen people come to the podium here before and kind of get upset about what they think is being taught in the schools. And so it is good to have some kind of a way to let people know what our curriculum looks like. But some of these textbooks, I mean, first of all, they follow state standards and there's not a whole lot to choose from, so it's not like you have a wide variety of these textbooks to kind of narrow down what you want. So that's one thing. And then a lot of the teachers are using their own materials. Like you'll go to some classes and they hardly, are using the text because they have so much of their own materials. So there's that part too. But I think it's good to, if you have on your website, hey, we're adopting, the latest curriculum that follows state standards in science, whatever it is, then you're informing people. And if they want to come and look at the textbooks, I believe they're always welcome to come in and look at a textbook, so that you can invite them that way.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you so much. Anyone online, please raise your hand. I'm just going to glance around to the trustees and see if they have anything else. Everyone is shaking their head. Brian, I can see you shaking your head as well. Okay, Buck, did you want to add anything?
No.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so it is now 8:29 and I am closing this public hearing. Thank you, Director Rogelman. Moving on to action discussion item. It's 8:30 and I was hoping to be at this one at earlier than this, 7:55. So adoption of the resolution number 1103, issuance of a tax and revenue anticipation note not to exceed $7,500,000. Just became the Price is Right guy. Okay. Assistant Superintendent Josh Dorn, do you have anything to add to this?
Sure. So every year the district does bring an authorization for a TRAN of a not to exceed amount, and a TRAN is a tax revenue anticipation note. As noted here in the cover item, the district relies heavily, as we all know, on property tax revenue, and that property tax revenue comes in at certain points throughout the year, but that does cause a problem for the district with cash flow. Essentially from the months of September through December. The biggest issue with cash flow is in the month of November prior to December, which would cause a massive financial strain on the district. So this is very common. This district's been, I know, approving a TRAN for a very long time, as far as I'm aware. Cost of issuance for the TRAN around $22,000. There's interest associated. We're looking to lock in that interest. There's a timeline for this entire process when we do lock in that interest rate. I can quickly go through the timeline if you'd like, and then ask and be open for any additional questions or.
Board, what would you prefer? Elliot, thumbs up. You would like,
No, I'm good.
he's good with the amount, Trustee Otmar. You're good, Trustee Clerk Maneri, and Trustee Brian Swanson. Would you like Josh to continue, or you're good?
I'm good. I've,
Okay.
I've seen it a few times now, so.
Yes, it definitely is a recurring item. Thank you so much for presenting it. So with that description, and if there's any member of the public that would like to read up on it more, it is in our packet on page 105. I'm gonna get some trustee comments, hopefully, and then go out to the public. So Trustee Dr. Hazen, will you
Yes.
start?
Just a quick question. Are there any alternatives, recognizing the need for the cash flow?
There are, for a basic aid community funded district, usually there's two options. I mean, there's a variety of other options, but the first option would be a tax revenue anticipation note. The other would be interfund borrowing. So if we had enough money to bridge that cash flow shortage in another fund that we were able to borrow from, we would go to the county office and we'd ask for permission, essentially. I mean, there's a whole process involved. But we don't have a fund right now with $7.5 million in it. So that's why we don't look at interfund borrowing, and that's why we defer to a TRAN.
Thank you so much, Assistant Superintendent Joshua Torn. Moving on to Clerk McNary, any comments?
No comments.
Trustee Otmar.
No comments now that you answer that question. I don't like the 127,000 in issuance and insurance, but you know, it's what it is, and that's fine.
Thank you. Trustee Brian Swanson.
I wasn't going to have a question, but I do now. So when you're talking about having that kind of essentially sort of a reserve, right, or a fund where you could tap, does a district like Carmel, where they're sitting on what, a 27% surplus, does that enable them to do something like that, or do they participate in this too? And if you don't know, that's totally fine.
So the answer is I don't know what Carmel does. However, with a 30% reserve, they may possibly have enough in a fund to interfund borrow in lieu of a TRAN. But they absolutely have cash flow shortages just like us.
Okay. And then one last question. Thank you too. I believe at one point, and Dr. Porras probably can answer this maybe a little better. We were not actually, for a brief period of time, members of CSBA. Is that correct?
Yes, there was a couple of years that we were not, though we still, I think, had access to this process.
Okay, and you answered the next part of that question. Thank you so much. That's all I got.
I could see them being very motivated to continue access to this process. As
Oh
you
yeah,
say.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your questions and comments, Brian. Actually, next up on the list is myself, and I don't have any on this. Student Trustee Avila, did you have anything?
Oh, thank you.
No? Okay. I just cleaned my glasses. I can actually see. I should have done that earlier. Thank you so much. I'm going out to the public to see if there's any comments. So for in-person, that would be Beth Shamas, and for online, that would be anyone who wants to raise their hand digitally. You're more than welcome to speak. We'll give you just a moment. In the meantime, trustees, has anything popped in your minds? Okay, go ahead, trustee Hazen.
So one more question. Has there ever been discussion at the state level of providing spending authority before funds come in, as long as those funds are assured? I know that happens at the federal level, but I also understand the issues with that.
Categorical days.
Yeah, those days are essentially behind us with LCFF funding.
Back when there were categorical funds, they would sometimes allow that to happen, but that's a long ways back now.
I was gonna say, there's no opportunity for us to make a push to the state of the money it could save if we did that.
You can push.
Okay.
A good question. Thank you for asking that. I don't see anyone online raising their hand, and I don't see anyone here in person getting up to the microphone. So this is an action item that we need to vote on. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve on staff's recommendation, if I can get a second.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Motion made by Carolyn Swanson, seconded by Clerk McNary. Roll call vote, please, Mandy.
Aye.
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 Perfectly timed. Thank you. Passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to action item B. This is a renewal contract for financial advisory services with Dale Scott and Company. This is, well, it says it's a renewal. This is a recurring item that I've seen before. Joshua Jorn, Assistant Superintendent for Business Services. This is your item if you'd like to speak to it.
Sure, just to give you a quick summary. Dale Scott is used for the continuing disclosures for our bond, Measure D and Measure A. So this is a renewal agreement for continuing disclosure to be provided. That's outlined in the contract. They provide annual reporting, annual filing of that report, budget auditing support, preparation, filing of our significant events. There's a number of items included in the ongoing disclosures process. The only amendment to this agreement, so it is a routine item, except for the fact that we've added an amendment item, which is to provide some support to the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. I know that's something we're looking to kind of shore up, make a little more transparent. So we're going to work with Dale Scott on community outreach, a community report to the community, not just what we've done here and posted on our website, but actual trifold to go out to the community to let them know where we're at with the bond, as well as some assistance in recruitment. We now have a trustee that is a trustee and can no longer serve on the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. So we're going to have to bring on a new member. And then, of course, the annual reporting process to this body, to this board, they will assist us with. And from what I understand in the past, this was done in-house, but it was only done once a year. And I believe that the appetite of the board and the community was to provide more transparent outreach to the voters who voted for this item. So.
Thank you so much for that summary. I'll start with Clerk McNary, please.
No comments, no questions on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Otmar.
I have no comment or question.
Thank you so much, Trustee Otmar. Trustee Brian Swanson online.
Only thought is, I think it's great that we're trying to explain more to the community what it is we're doing. It's a really positive step. So thank you for making sure that happened.
Yeah, good point. Now myself, I don't have any comments. Student Trustee Avila.
I'm okay, thank you.
Okay, and Trustee Dr. Hazen.
I think I know the answer to this. Just want to make sure this information is fully on the PGUSD website as well, if anyone needs to look it up.
It is, absolutely.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go out to the public. I don't see anyone online raising their hands to speak to this issue, and I don't have anyone in person either. I'm going to go back to the trustees, just look quickly at their faces. And Brian, I see. Okay, wonderful. So would anyone like to make a motion on this? I'll make a motion on staff's recommendation. Need a second, please?
Happy to second.
Thank you. Motion made by Carolyn Swanson, seconded by Dr. Hazen. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 Passes unanimously. Thank you all so much for that. Moving on to item C, agreement for legal services with Lozano Smith from 2023 to 2024. Just time check wise, it is 8:40 now. We're still about half an hour behind. I'm not sure if we're going to make it till 10, but I'm going to stop talking about that so we can continue on. So Dr. Portas, this one is your item. Please go ahead.
Yeah, this is an item that we typically bring is we do with other contracts in terms of engaging in legal services with Lozano Smith. In the past, there had been times when a long time ago, we did general services with one attorney and special ed was with a different attorney firm. I think at that time it was Fagan, Freeman and Fullfrost for special ed. And then over the years, we ended up rolling all of our services into one law firm as they took on other services. There are some legal services that Lozano Smith really doesn't focus on. Bond work is a great example. That's why we ended up working with Jones Hall through Dale Scott. So that would be outside typically of any work that Lozano Smith does. So this is a general contract for services with Lozano Smith. We've been working with them, well, at least 16 years, probably a little bit longer as they've been doing some of the other work, not all the services back then, but most of them. So we're looking to renew the services agreement for the upcoming year. And we are contracted with them at least through the end of this school year.
Okay, thank you so much. Trustee Otmar, questions, comments?
Have we looked into any other law firms?
Not recently. There are not a lot of locals. The really AALRR is local, and Lozano Smith are mostly in this region. So that kind of thing started it, just because they're probably the most predominant locally here. Saves on transportation costs, that kind of thing as well. But we have looked in the recent past, I would say maybe 7 or 8 years ago. It wasn't really a formal RFP, but we're just asking, are there other services we can look at?
Do you think it's worth looking again, just to kind of price shop or compare?
Sure, I think.
See,
I think that's totally up to the board in regards, they're your attorneys ultimately. I think there are some, I could say just anecdotally, some of the advantages of working with them. They have files for our district for everything that they've done with us over this amount of time. So disclosure fees alone would be pretty heavy duty if we were to go to a different law firm, because they would have to ask Lozano for the files. And so you're paying double duty to disclose information. Right now, they've worked with us on a number of issues, so we can simply call them and say, hey, can you go back on this case and pull out the files for us? And they can do that readily. Most of the attorneys, they've been here long term. So like Tom Maniello, for example, has done all our expulsions. So he's very familiar with the cases and can reference back, and it's very quick and easy in that regards. Plus there's a history. Lozano Smith is probably one of the largest law firms in the state now. So one of the advantages we have is that if there's cases or case law that are experienced across the state at different districts, we have the luxury of being able to access information on that because they work with them. Other law firms that are local by don't necessarily have that advantage depending on what we're looking at. So there are some advantages certainly to staying. Just a big piece of his longevity and knowing our district. But if the board wanted to take a look, my suggestion would be doing an RFP. That's the typical in regards to taking a look at what else is out there so that law firms can come forward and present their wares.
Okay, thanks for the information.
Thank you. Trustee Brian Swanson, please go ahead.
I don't think I have any actual questions, just a comment. I mean, I'm in favor of staying the course with Lozano Smith. You know, one of the things that Dr. Portas had mentioned too was that the history that we have, and I think about the work that I do, and I've moved over the years from agency to agency to agency, and it's such a pain trying to go back to the records from this place or the records from that place and figure out just what it was that we did. And then I think back too, because it was Lozano Smith that helped us through the whole redistricting thing, was it not?
Yeah, yes, it was.
And they were able to say, well, this is what's going on here, and this is what's going on there. And because their client base is not only so large, but so broad across the state, that there is a really terrific knowledge base that we were able to tap into. It doesn't increase our hourly rate, but it was there for us just because they had that knowledge base. So those are just my comments and observations, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Student trustee Avila.
No questions this time. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Hazen.
Yeah, I'll just agree with trustee Swanson that I like the idea of staying the course and agree with that for this point.
Okay. I am the last one, I guess, to comment, and then I'll go out to.
I haven't commented yet,
Yes, thank you so much.
but continue and I will follow you.
Okay, thank you so much. So I would love to do a request for proposal and kind of just see what's out there and perhaps shift over and have a fresh set of eyes on the operations of the district. I think that there has been a lot of law firms who have grown and become experts in the education fields. Who knows, maybe even lawyers who used to work with Lozano Smith are now at other firms or whatever, but there seems to be so many more options now. And I would like to see a fresh set of eyes. I think we can always benefit from that. I believe that for the auditor for the district, next time the auditor contract comes up, I'm going to be looking at that. I like the idea of a fresh set of eyes. So I'll leave it at that. I don't have to go on and on about it, but Clerk McNary, go ahead.
I'm in agreement with President Swanson. I don't think there's any harm in putting it out to bid. It looks like it's been, I don't know, at least 10 years, maybe longer since we've even formally put it out to bid to see what else is out there. And I would like to do that. I am ready to see what other options we have before making a decision to approve a contract for attorneys for next year.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm going to go out to the public trustees, noodle on that, see if anything else pops in your mind. I will come back to each of you. We've got one person online that would like to comment. Please go ahead. Amy Ramos.
Hi, everyone. Amy Ramos, parent of 2 at Robert Down. I just want to say I also think it's worth you guys considering having it open for multiple bids or seeking what else is out there. It's important that we always keep our eyes open. Not only do you learn to see what else is out there that we could possibly ask the attorneys that are serving us now to provide to us, but also for just other opportunities. So I appreciate those that have also suggested that.
Thank you, Ms. Ramos. Anyone in person would like to speak? Oh, thank you so much. Beth Shamas on the way to the podium.
Okay, well, Lozano Smith's been with us a long, long time and with many of the districts in our county. And I would say that the one thing that would benefit looking at another law firm is simply the mindset. Lozano Smith has a certain mindset. And when you, especially with negotiations, but other things too. So when you're bringing these issues to them, they will typically give you that style of legal advice. And there's other styles out there. And so that's something to be aware of. That's something I noticed with them when I was on the board and when I was on negotiating team, when I'm not on the board, in my past. So that's something to think about, because sometimes law firms can either help or kind of not help situations in terms of managing relationships. And that's what they kind of do, when you're having to deal with a legal issue, whether it's special ed or negotiations. You want a firm that's well aware of the relationships that are going to be affected by any kind of settlement that happens or any kind of negotiations. So that's how I would look at that. Worth your time to think about.
Thank you, Beth Shamas. I don't see anyone else online, right, Louis? Nobody else? Okay, thank you so much. So going back to the board, trustee Otmar, start with you again, please. Go ahead.
For additional comment?
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
okay. I think I've heard enough information and I'm okay for now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Brian Swanson, any further comments?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any further comments, except just to let the board know that we can either vote to approve this tonight, or we can direct staff to put out a request for proposal for other law firms. Is that correct? Okay, so we kind of have these two choices. Student trustee Abla, anything?
Nothing further. No.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Dr. Hazen.
Yep, just quickly, is there any harm to the district, either financial or waiting and going out to RFP?
We're on contract with Zano right now till this end of the school year. If any cases that they take on, we have to determine whether or not that they can continue those cases after that contract time is done. Typically you do, because it's just a lot of investment in time moving forward.
But there's no immediate cost, like RFP, it's on them. They're not going to charge us.
No.
putting in our- Okay,
Yeah,
then,
correct.
yeah, I see no harm. I thank you for the additional insight there from the public and from
Sure.
others that have spoken. I like the idea of RFP.
Thank you, trustee Dr. Hazen and clerk McNary. No, okay. So now we're at a point where we can either vote to approve.
I have one quick
yeah,
question. I
please
just
go
thought of.
ahead.
How long does an RFP take? What's the timeline on that typically?
I would say about 3 months. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be right up
Yeah.
up against.
We'll be right up against it. We'll hopefully have it by the June 1st meeting. So yeah, it's a little later in the game, but then again, we brought this contract early, so it's a good thing.
Okay.
Just because we didn't go too late.
And would you need board direction on how many vendors you want us to what am I trying to say? How many vendors we would like you to get a request for proposal from, or what's your process in getting the proposals?
Well, Assistant Superintendent Jordan might have a different experiences with it. I think it initially is just to open it up and to
Okay.
see who responds, because some will and some won't. It just depends on, again, kind of locally, it just all depends.
Okay.
But it would, once we get them in, it's probably a good thing to figure out, is there some kind of filter that we're going to look at? For just as an example, some law firms are solely in Santa Clara, San Jose, that direction. So you're going to be incurring transportation costs, period. So the board may want to say, we want law firms within a certain radius.
Sure.
Those kinds of things help us in terms of taking a look at that, but I can.
Yeah, if I may, I would say we need to set a selection criteria for the RFQ or RFP, whichever process we decide to go after, either request for qualifications or proposals.
Okay.
If we're doing a request for proposals, usually the final outcome is determined by the lowest. I mean, not always the lowest responsible or responsive, but I mean, oftentimes that's so we have to think about how we're going to weight the responses. So we could build some sort of a weighted system as to how to review an RFP for attorneys. And I've done this before. I can work with the Monterey County Office of Education on it. But that's that's probably the most important part. How are we, what are we weighting it against? How do we determine who the most qualified firm is moving forward? Is it solely based on cost and proximity? So there's a lot of factors involved there. So I think we would have, that's why I said when Dr. Porras asked 3 months, well, I mean, to do an RFP is going to take us 45 days-ish, but I think there's a process on the front end and a process on the back end that we have to experience. And we need to work on that quickly.
Okay, well, then it sounds like we have a majority of the board. I'm just making sure there's nobody in public wants to say anything. It sounds like we have a majority of the board interested in engaging the RFP or RFQ process.
Well, I want to just interject again.
Go ahead, Brian.
I get where I think most of you are leaning. I question the timing of it. When I take a look at everything that we're trying to do, and what's come up again this week now with a whole new ball of wax about, so what do we do and how does the district address severe weather situations? There's a lot that we're trying to get done. And then to take this and put it on top of it at this particular time, you know, and looking at this particular meeting too, we're running long, continually running long on everything. And I don't think the timing is right to try to rush this in. There, you know, here's a firm that we've worked with for a long time that that has worked, knows where the bodies are buried, so to speak, within this district. And to put ultimately this on the board to evaluate all this, I think we have other things to do that are a greater priority.
Thank you, Brian. Board, what would you like to do at this time? We'll go around and ask each of you. Trustee Otmar.
I think I'm still processing right now because I can see both sides. I agree with what you're saying, Trustee Swanson, Trustee Brian. I agree with that. I also, you know, there's really no harm in getting the RFP. It doesn't commit us to anything. So I'd probably lean more towards that, but I do see what you're saying. We do have a lot going on right now. The ball of wax is kind of grown. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I can see both sides too. One thing that I go back to is there ever a good time, really? I mean, we're busy and our meetings are long all year long. And I think if we end up starting this process, which doesn't have any harm to us financially, it does take some staff time. We could, since we do have a long-standing relationship with Lozano Smith, we could ask for a couple-month extension on the current contract to build in a little bit of a buffer for timing. So I don't think it's not, doesn't have to happen right now. I think we can have that little bit of buffer. So I've said my piece now. So Trustee Brian, you just commented, but did you want to say anything else?
Sure. I'd like to move for the approval of the agreement for legal services with Lozano Smith for 2023-24.
Okay.
I'll actually be happy to second that motion.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Brian Swanson, seconded by Dr. Hazen. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
No.
No.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Okay, motion fails. That's a 3-2. Actually, it's a 2-3 vote, I guess. Do you say the one we're so unanimous all the time, I don't even know which comes first. So it's 2 opposed, 3 opposed, I apologize, 3 opposed, and 2 in favor of adopting this agreement for legal services. So the motion has failed, and so now we need to give direction to staff on what we're looking for related to this item, correct, Ralph?
Yes, unless another trustee wants to make a motion, that'd be correct.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
I would
Elliot.
love to make a motion. Could we approve an extension to the contract of 3 to 6 months to allow us the process of doing an RFP? So that way we're not up until that June 1st deadline.
Well, we'll discuss it, I guess. My comment on that would be if we need to, we can, but I don't feel any need to do it right now.
Provided my rationale would just be
Sure.
the point that Trustee Swanson said about what we're dealing with now. I do agree priorities wise, pushing that back a little bit might allow us to deal with some of the issues that were brought forth to us today.
Okay.
That's what I'm coming from.
Thank you, Dr. Hazen. Clerk McNary. Your comments?
My comments are the same. I am ready to put it out to bid. I think if we do run up against the end of this contract, timing wise, when it gets closer, we can deal with that if it happens. And then it's whatever we need from staff to create criteria. This is a new process to me, so I would like us to move in that direction.
Thank you, Trustee Otmar.
I agree with what Dr. Hazen is saying. I think that it would be very reasonable and a smart move to just extend the contract. I don't think that does any harm. We'd have the RFP out. takes a little bit of the heat off, a little bit of the pressure. It can give staff more time to work on it, sort of just to give a little bit more space for movement. And I think things that have been presented recently, it would be a smart move to extend the contract. It doesn't have to be a forever thing, but I think it would be smart at this time. So I agree with that.
Thank you so much. Trustee Brian Swanson.
A question for Dr. Porras. We would need to request an extension from Lozano Smith. Is that correct?
That I would need to talk with them and ask them. I don't know that that'd be a problem at all, but it'd be an extension off of their current contract. So yeah.
Okay, I would be in favor of that.
Can I make a clarifying point?
Sure.
Or ask a clarifying question? The current contract ends June 30, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so in theory, although our last board meeting is June 1 as of scheduled, we have the contract until June 30, so an RFP process has until then without I understand the work involved. It's not just like a smooth get it done and then the RFP is done and we're done quickly afterwards. But I think I don't think we should limit what we're doing based on how much time it takes. I think if it's important for us to see what other options are out there for us as a district and us as a board, then we shouldn't limit ourselves because we're busy right now. I don't think we're going to have a time where we're not busy. I just don't. I've been sitting through these meetings for a number of years now, and I haven't seen it. So that would be my 2 cents.
Okay, Elliot, I see your finger. One moment, please. So we're getting to the point where we should make a motion or give staff direction. So if the board's okay with that, if somebody wants to make a motion at this point, please do. I'll leave the floor open right now.
Just a quick comment. I'm not just worried about our time, but staff time too, particularly given some of the other things where we might be wanting to push in the time. So I would like to make a motion that we extend the contract through the summer while we also go out. And this would be a direction to obviously to both Superintendent Porras and Mr. Jorn to extend for 3 months and put out the RFP at the same time, basically, but allowing more time then to craft the language and the criteria.
So your motion would be to extend the current contract until September 30, or is it 31st or 30? Is that, go ahead, Ralph.
I was just going to suggest if it makes it easier, we can inquire with Lozano first, just the feasibility of the extension, and then we can bring that back to you. And if it can't happen, there's no point in bringing it back because we have time. If it can, we can bring it back on consent for the extension of 3 months, as I'm hearing. And then that also, in the meantime, we have the direction to move forward with the RFP. So no action is necessary.
Great.
But you're certainly welcome to take action.
I think that's great. So just to clarify for the board and the public, what we're going to do is hold tight. Ralph is gonna, is this right? Okay. Ralph is gonna reach out to his contact at Lozano Smith and see if they would be amenable to extension until the end of September, which is the 3-month extension. And then we'll bring it back onto a future agenda.
Yeah, correct.
Yes.
While also starting the RFP process.
Well, also starting that. Yes. Thank you so much.
Interject on point of order. However, it's like, Elliot, you were halfway through making a motion. Are you withdrawing that? It sounded like at one point you were.
I'm happy to withdraw it based on Superintendent Porras's advice that it doesn't need action at this point. As long as that can be done without a motion, I'm happy to do it without a motion.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. Motion removed. Okay. Looking around, checking in on the public. Okay, we're moving on now to item D, which is revision to the salary schedule for position of adult school program coordinator. Billy Minky, Director of Human Resources, or Barbara Martinez. Please go ahead.
Standing in for Director Minky.
Thank you so much
for today. Good evening, everybody. My name is Barbara Martinez. I'm the adult school principal and Director of Safety. I just wanted to make reference to your comment, Brian, Trustee Swanson, at the beginning in consent, when you paid attention to seven of our staff in the district who have turned in a resignation. 4 of those 7 were adult school staff. So it's a large majority of the 7 were adult school staff. Kellyanne Joyce, longtime childcare provider, full-time in our childcare. Jackie Kite, esteemed preschool parent educator. Janet Belay, ESL teacher, and Eric Saavedra. Eric Saavedra has been our coordinator for 4 years, and I would just like to pay tribute to him because he's really put in a lot of time and effort traveling from Morgan Hill down here, building our programs. And it's bittersweet that we see him leave, right? Bitter because he's part of our adult school family, but sweet that he's moving on. And there's many reasons why people turn in a resignation. It could be because of personal reasons. It could be because they want to retire. It could be because they're moving to another state, or it could be because they're hungry for a higher salary, more deserving salary. So tonight I'm going to ask you to consider, I'm going to ask the district recommend the board review and approve the proposed increase to the salary range for adult school program coordinator funded through the adult school consortium allocation, and or provide recommended feedback and direction. Duties of the adult school program coordinator are very unique, unlike that of your K-12 schools. They are specific to work program monitoring of state and federal programs. Fiscal accountability and program monitoring are paramount to the success and fiscal solvency of the adult school. In addition, the adult school program coordinator supervises evening classes and coordinates the adult school community education program. And as you know, our adult school is open now. As we add more and more programs to the adult school site, right, we're open more and more hours. So we opened up a childcare recently in the last 5 years. We open up at 7 a.m. and we go until 8:30 a.m., sometimes 9. So it does require 2 of us to be there throughout the day. As positions become vacant, we conduct a review of the duties and salaries for the position prior to recruitment, right? That's what we do. If somebody leaves, we take a look at what the salaries are commensurate to what other districts are paying. After a review of the adult school program coordinator position and similar positions across the state, counties and state, it becomes clear that to best recruit and retain employees in the adult school program coordinator position, that the salary for this position would need to be increased. We looked at we looked at 5 different districts, and I'd like to pass these out. Carmel, Pajaro, Watsonville, Santa Cruz, Salinas, Soledad, PGUSD, North Monterey County. And we looked at what their coordinator for adult education was receiving. We took an average and we were really looking at the amount of days. What we're asking for right now is still under what other districts pay. The full-time administrative position, this is fully funded under the adult school consortium allocation. In Ed Code section 84913, all CAPE funds, the California Adult Ed Program funds, Fund 11 block grant, they can only be used in instructional programs with the 7 program areas approved by the California Department of Education. They are restricted funds. So they're only funds that can be taken from Fund 11 to fund salaries for classified, certificated, supplies, contract for services, and facilities. They do not draw from the general fund. And each year, the school, each year the consortium receives its CAPE grant award, and these funds are then allocated directly to each school within the consortium based on the prior year funding allocation. These funds are then deposited into the school's Fund 11 account in addition to any carryover. And we know that our Fund 11 is generally relatively very healthy with a carryover each year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that presentation. Trustee Otmar?
So the handout that I'm looking at, I see PG adult school. The only one that it's noted that is adult school, it seems like is Pajaro and Carmel. Are the other ones in this packet? They're all
five,
adult.
all five. of
They're
them.
all adult.
Yes.
Okay, because I'm looking at Monterey Peninsula and coordinator under middle school. It just doesn't specify that it's adult, so I guess I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, mine says high school.
Assistant principal, high
Carmel,
school.
Monterey Peninsula Unified School District pays their coordinator the high school rate
But this is specific to adult.
to adult. So their assistant principal is paid at the same step and column and labeled high school.
I see.
And I don't know why, but it is.
And there's two highlighted on Monterey Peninsula Unified. So there's a coordinator position and an assistant principal high school position at two different rates. At the 8-year mark, it looks like the coordinator's at 114,832 and the assistant principal for high school is at 127,229. Is it the coordinator that I'm looking at?
Well,
You know what, I think, Laura, you've got the same questions I have, and we're running short on time, so I'm wondering if if the board would be accepting to bringing this back at another time where these numbers can be a little given to us in advance. Number one, included in the packet would be good, but yeah, if these could be included in the packet next time so that we can draw a quick comparison and we can review it ahead of time. That's what I would like to see is this brought back in a more thorough manner. Go ahead, Elliot.
My understanding from the highlighting, and this is just reading between the lines, is that it's the position we're looking for is in between the two.
mhm.
So I feel comfortable with what was given here personally, but I also understand I don't want to make that decision for the board. So I really appreciate your
No,
comments on
yeah,
that.
I mean, well, the board is a culmination of 5 opinions, so thank you for your opinion. So we've got my opinion. I'd like to see it come back. Elliot, your opinion, trustee or clerk McNary.
Yeah, I would like to see it come back too, so I have the time to take a look at this and compare the numbers.
Okay,
Thank you.
trustee Otmar.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with this coming back. I have questions. Maybe I can just email you the questions if you're comfortable with that.
That's perfect, trustee Otmar, because if it's on the next packet, you can just toss them in with your packet questions and we have that process. Trustee Brian Swanson.
Oh, I don't have the handout.
Correct, you're
I do
right. Good
have
point.
what was sent before me, that which is in the packet, and I was comfortable enough with that.
Okay.
I mean, if we're not going to move forward, and again, I would be comfortable moving forward, but if we end up not, Director Martinez, if you would be so kind and email me the handout that went to the other trustees, that would be greatly appreciated.
Sure.
And I'm sorry that I don't know the answer to this question that I'm going to ask, but is this presently an open position?
Yes, at the end of April, so at the end of March. So the new position would open in April and we're gonna start interviewing. It's an open position. It was flown at the
Yeah, we
lower rate.
created, right? We actually created this, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, and so, because I had noticed the other night, I was flipping through, I think it was EdJoin maybe, at the number of open positions that are at the adult school, and I'm glad you pointed that out too with all the retirees. It's like, there are a lot of gaps to fill right now.
Yes,
And-
and if I may, I mostly adult school staff, certificated and classified, fall way below the salary scale than
Yes.
those of regular K-12, TK-12. I would just like to also say that our goal is to obtain and retain highly qualified staff that will be with us for the long haul. And we understand the reason why many do, we have attrition, the reasons why they do leave. So just last case in point, it was an average of all of them, and then we're still falling below. So it was reasonable for me. But thank you very much, and we'll bring it back to you.
We're gonna vote or discuss, give board direction, I guess. Just make sure that the majority of the board agrees on what we're doing here. So is the board, we can just give direction. We don't have to vote on moving this to the next agenda, but I just wanted to go around, make sure that all the trustees had a moment to speak about that. So trustee Otmar, are you okay with this coming back, or would you like to vote on it tonight?
I'd like for it to come back.
Okay,
at the next
trustee
meeting.
Brian Swanson.
I'm fine for it to come back.
Okay, I'm fine for it to come back. Student trustee Avila, would you like to see this again?
Yeah, I would like whatever you guys would like. 'Cause you guys are the ones making the decision. So. And that,
Okay, trustee Dr. Hazen.
Just want to make sure it would come back on the consent agenda since it's been discussed.
It has not been discussed fully, so I would like to see it back on action. Clerk McNary.
I would like for it to come back as well, please. And it
Okay.
sounds like something we should probably be doing sooner and later, because this is going to be a job we're hiring for, and we'll have to then make decisions with salary, so.
Comment?
Madam President, I didn't know if Principal Martinez wanted to comment on if it's going to delay the hiring process. I think there's just, I don't know.
It
The answer to
was
that.
posted pending board approval for the increase in salary. And so we have promising people out there waiting to find out if they're going to apply or not.
When's our next meeting, Ralph?
The 6th, so yeah, it's about 3.5 weeks. So
Okay, I'm
before-
okay with that. I'm okay waiting.
I'm
I'll go
not.
around again. Brian, you're not okay. Not okay. Trustee Otmar.
And I don't want to delay the hiring process, but I would like more information. So I'd say yes, I'd prefer to wait just so that I'm making an informed decision.
Okay.
And just, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Interrupt. Just so you know, we do meet and develop a budget with the assistant superintendent, and it falls within our means, what we're asking. for
Thank
next
you.
year.
Thank you so much. So we have a majority of the board okay with us coming back. Okay. And the majority of the board okay with it coming back is, to be clear, trustee Otmar, clerk McNary, trustee Carolyn. Elliot, you're okay. You'd like it to be on consent.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah,
I'll take that into consideration when we go to the agenda meeting, because let me process on that one. Okay, thank you so much. And trustee Brian, I can count to 3, so we're gonna wait. Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Next up is action E, final first or final reading of new regulation 1250.3 areas open to visitors and guests. This one is Dr. Pudas's.
I think it's pretty straightforward. I don't know if there's any I can answer any direct questions if
Okay.
you like. I can present, but I think it's.
Yeah, so my understanding of this is it came about because there had been some extremely disruptive individuals who would come into government, small government, publicly funded offices and essentially say, this is public money, this is my public money. I'm going to come in, I'm going to stand over an employee while they work. I'm going to type of thing. What's that, Josh? I've seen the videos, like he went to in Marina. So it's happened locally. It's not just a thing. So so it appears that this is to kind of just have a system in place, policy in place that's applied to everyone equally. To have staff who are working in the district office, because it's not related to schools, it's related to administration buildings, so that you can point to this policy that you're going to put up in the public zone and just have it be applied to everyone so that visitors need to register.
Correct.
So I'm gonna start with trustee Brian Swanson on this one. If you have any comments or questions.
No comments or questions.
Okay, thank you so much. I just gave you my summary, so that's my comment. Student trustee Avila.
I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Dr. Hazen.
just a thought is if it could be done at all digitally, the sign-in process for visitors. rather than, you know, if that were an option, I'd love to see it, but I also realize that may not be.
If we can figure something out, I'm sure.
Clerk McNary,
I don't have any comments.
trustee Otmar.
Nothing from me.
Okay, I'm gonna go out to the public. If anyone here in person would like to come up to the podium and speak, please do. I don't see anyone online, neither does Lewis, so. Any trustee having a further comment that's popped into your mind? Brian, online, do you have anything else?
Nothing further.
Thank you. Clerk McNary, trustee Otmar, Brennan. Okay. So this is now open for a motion and a second. I'll make a motion on staff's recommendation if somebody wants a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Motion made by Carolyn Swanson, seconded by Clerk McNary. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to the land acknowledgement. This one has come back again because there was one point, I think, of discussion needed on it. And during the agenda setting meeting, Ralph and I agreed that when we do put this on the agenda, we want it to be everyone on the same page and thoroughly vetted, et cetera, et cetera. So we weren't quite ready to put it on. We brought it back so that we could discuss the moment of silence aspect and request. So I will go around. I'm going to start with actually trustee Dr. Hazen on this one. Go ahead.
Excellent. One other quick thing that I'd put in the as a request is that I think the land acknowledgement should precede any board business. So not at 6:30, but 5:30, because that's when we're opening our use of the land. So that would be the proper time and my understanding of land acknowledgements. I personally would suggest we not have the appreciable moment of silence. I really like the idea, and I saw that there are a number of other areas that do, but because we're talking about past and present, the moment of silence just makes me think of past. And so I do want it to be a little bit more focused on present. The last point I'll make, which I realize is it's on here, but a little out, is as a district, I really, when we're implementing this, we need to consider what the concrete actions we can do in terms of following through on such a statement in our policies and district. What are the ways we can assist Indigenous people in uplifting and upholding their sovereignty and self-determination? So I hope this will not be the end of it once we approve it, but just to think about how we include on our curriculum, et cetera. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hazen. Clerk McNary.
Yeah, I think this has been on our agenda maybe 4 times now. I'm ready to move forward with it as presented, and we can have a separate discussion around the moment of silence.
If needed.
If needed.
Okay, got it. Trustee Otmar.
I like the land acknowledgement. There we go. I like the land acknowledgement as it is. I would be in favor of a moment of silence. I think that it just creates an obvious pause that would be meaningful. We can move forward with it now. It's just going to end up, I guess, back on the agenda at some point. I'm not sure who sent the video that there was a video that came across to all the trustees that talked about land acknowledgements that we all got. Was that from you?
The NPR.
Yeah,
Yep.
That was fantastic. And I'm on board with what you're talking about, having that's not just be a land acknowledgement, but to have it continue to be meaningful in a way that is respectful and honoring, and not just a statement that gets rattled off every single meeting. I also agree that the 5:30, reading it at 5:30 as we open business, I think is very important, that we should not do business before we read this statement. And that's all I have.
Okay, trustee Brian Swanson, thoughts, comments?
I'm in favor of moving forward. I like the idea of starting the meetings with it. I felt differently last time than I do now about the moment of silence. I agree with what Dr. Hazen had said, that I don't think that it's necessary. I do want us to keep this in mind as far as how do we tie this into actually educating our students now, but here we are talking about it for the 4th time. I would like to put it to bed And in agreeing again with Dr. Hazen's thoughts about how we do that.
Thank you. So my comment on the timing of it all, it just, I don't want to sound condescending, but just so you realize, if we do it at 5:30, there's nobody here. If that's okay with you, or if that is the most appropriate way to do it. I am not of Indigenous descent. I don't know the most appropriate. I don't know if the moment of silence edition is the most appropriate. So Ralph has done some legwork and talked to experts, local experts on this. So Ralph, can you reiterate? You had done some legwork to find out if it was appropriate to put on the agenda. Did they specify that we needed to do it the moment that we open business, or more closer to other, like, I don't want to say we need to pair it with the Pledge of Allegiance by any stretch, but I'm just saying, when is best for us to put this on the agenda?
Yeah, there was no specification as to the timing. I think it's really up to you in regards to when you feel it's most important. I think just, I think we had talked about the 5:30 time only because there really just aren't a lot. And I think it really, if the board wants to emphasize it with the public, probably better to do it when there's more public. But again, I totally understand why opening a meeting. I don't know that there's any, I didn't gather from the conversations that there was any importance in the particular time, just that it was done.
Okay, you
Now-
also didn't feel like there was perhaps an insult that we were perpetrating by doing it at the 6:30 time versus like nothing on the timing was.
Yeah, I think, well, a little bit in that the point of having it is to say we're here because we're acknowledging the people before us.
Mhm.
So yes, I totally get why doing it at 5:30. I think it's a little awkward for us just because we're not set up to just roll into the meeting right away.
Yeah.
We always roll into closed session. You know what I mean? So I'm not making the decision. I can only just kind of share those thoughts.
Mhm.
I see both ends of it for sure. I
Yeah.
think if you're going to be more respectful in terms of the honoring part of it, it makes sense that you do it before the meeting starts.
At 5:30.
Yeah, because that's
Okay.
the business of the board. So
That is the business of the board. Okay, thank you so much. Who did I leave off on? I've lost track here. We're just gonna start over. Okay, student trustee Avila, please go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with everything trustee Brian Swanson said, and also Dr. Portis. So thank you.
Okay, so to confirm, Ray, you're okay with doing it at the 5:30 time when we open everything up?
Yeah, I think don't think I'm exactly
You're not
quite
here.
knowledgeable enough to speak on that, but I do think that's starting it at 5:30 does maybe make a little bit more sense just for why we're doing the land acknowledgement. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. It sounds like moment of silence is something that we have moved past, and perhaps it's not necessary to do this properly. So would we like to take a vote on this? Would we like to discuss it further? I'm going to go to the public right now and see if there's anybody online. Louis, I don't see anybody. To you? Okay. Oh, I do see somebody. Casey Marie raised her hand. Please go ahead. And in the meantime, if there's anyone in public who wants to work their way up to the podium, please do.
Just wanted to add the comment that as a PTA board member at the high school, we've discussed in a few meetings, diversity, equity, and inclusion, new cultural committee that's been created for some of the different locations. And I thought that this would be an appropriate topic for them to touch upon and get feedback for the parents, staff, and community members as what would be most appropriate. I know that as a parent on multiple nonprofit boards and with a student in quite a few extracurricular activities, as well as sports, getting to these meetings with my workload and my students' workload and being involved in the community, it's hard enough to attend at 6:30, let alone 5:30 with travel time. So I think to promote the inclusion and potential participation of more members, like earlier in the meetings, it's not as busy. And obviously right now, there's not very many people participating as it's gotten later. I think making the meetings longer is counterproductive. So I think that it would be appropriate to, after this has been on the agenda 4 times, approve it going forward, but maybe get additional input besides just this board for the opinion as a whole for this determination.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone in public? In person, I should say. Thank you. Okay, so as we have discussed this extensively and Ralph has discussed it with cultural proficiency experts, I feel we're ready to take a vote on this. Dr. Hazen, do you mind making the motion? Because it sounded like you may have, please go ahead and do that.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yeah, I would like to make a motion that the land acknowledgement as written in the packet is approved for reading at 5:30 at the start before the board conducts any business, I should say. Not at 5:30, but if we start at 5, we should do it at 5.
At the very tip top
At
of the meeting.
That before the board starts any business.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, I think I heard Brian first somehow. I don't know how that was possible, but so motion made by trustee Dr. Hazen, seconded by trustee Brian Swanson. Roll call vote, please, Mandy.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Passes unanimously. Thank you all.
Madam President, if I may, just to make clear, you
go
want this right after call to order, yes? So we're going to call the meeting to order and then read. Is that what I just want
Trustee
to?
Hazen, is that what your motion the spirit of your motion was?
Yeah, just to say a land acknowledgement might be spoken before a public gathering issued as a written statement by an institution. So before the gathering. So first thing is perfect.
So even before call to order, you want to have someone read it?
Oh, I'm fine with call to order and then read. it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like once we're starting business.
Got it?
Okay, so item B under opening business.
Yep.
Thank you so much for asking that, Ralph.
Yep, got it.
Okay, moving on. We're actually at 9:30, so we've got half an hour left. We're on board calendar, future meetings. This is item, I should say, page number 166 in the packet. If anyone has any comments in the public, please start raising your hands digitally now or making your way up to the podium. Oh, wow. Well, just one sec. Yeah. So I'm going to go around to the trustees first. So Clerk McNary, anything on this?
Just because it says as needed for April 6th, I'm just curious if we're actually in April 20th, are we going to be seeing the review of the strategic plans and LCAPs?
You're going to start seeing the handbooks and the LCAPs coming forward, I believe. Is that correct, Mr. Director Rogoman?
The LCAP that goes to the board will probably be or Thursday, May 4th. That's when the draft. The reason being is that we want to get the draft of the advisory committee before it comes to the board.
Okay. And just for the people who didn't hear what Director Rogoman said. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Not sure if we mentioned to the board, but we're holding 5 meetings this year with the Parent Ed Advisory Committee, one for each goal. And then the April meeting is going to be the one where we look at the draft. And so after that third goal meeting, we need to do the draft. I need to take it back to the Parent Advisory Committee. And then at that point, it'll be ready for the board, which will still give us plenty of time for the board to look at the draft. If there's any revisions to that draft that need to get made, then we can do that at that second meeting in May.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you so much. Clerk McNary, was that all you had?
I'll just be brief for the sake of time. So
Go ahead.
sure.
Yep.
It's okay.
Oh,
Would you like us to move those down?
I was just hoping we would see them sooner, but if the documents aren't available, then we won't. So that's it.
In the name of thorough public engagement?
Yes, and which I truly appreciate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So Clerk McNary, you're okay on that item? Okay, Trustee Otmar?
My question was about the LCAP as well, so
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
Trustee Brian Swanson?
Nothing on this item. Thank you.
Okay, I have nothing. Student trustee Avila?
I have nothing as well.
Okay. Trustee Dr. Hazen?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you so much. We're gonna go out to the public, which I did see in the corner of my eye, somebody making their way up to the podium. So please go ahead.
Beth Schmoss. I don't have the list in front of me of your future meetings,
Hold
but
on.
what I what I was concerned about is when are you going to meet as a board to go over your protocols and your goals? And the reason I'm bringing that up is because tonight you talked about a lot of things that you guys have not had a chance to go over as a board together. You know, so it's hard to make these decisions. You're talking about attorneys, but you guys really need to talk about, in my opinion, you need to talk about what are you looking for in an attorney? It's not just maybe the cost. It probably isn't just the cost. It is, there's these other intangibles maybe or values that you want to see or you're looking for, that something's different than what maybe the current attorneys are providing. But you guys need a chance to talk about that, because if you're going out for requests for proposals, I mean, you know, what are you requesting? You know, you
Great
really
point.
have to get that together. And then the other one too was on the music, on the choir. I just wanted to say that this district has a culture, and one of the cultures that when I was on the board, we recognized was that music was an important piece of this district. And that's why we built the building behind the Performing Arts Center, because that was brought to our attention. And so I think, you know, again, you guys as a board talking about that, like, okay, where do we want to place our emphasis? And these kids, and I remember when this choir thing started, you know, I was on the board, I think, and it was just this little thing. And now I'm hearing like, wow, it's this big thing, you know, so those are important things for you guys to talk about and say to your, you know, as a group, is this, you know, or is this part of what we're putting forward? Is this part of our goals now? And, you know, but all of that again is, you know, it's hard to make these decisions when you guys haven't really had the chance to, as a new board, get together and really talk about how you want to put your goals together as a group. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you so much, Beth Shamas. And Clerk McNary, I think we are having our special board meeting set for May 11th for us to actually kind of come together as a board and do just, is that right?
My understanding is we have governance training, which is going to be kind of
This is why I'm not the calendar keeper.
on
Okay,
April 28th. The May 11th meeting was set for a board self-eval.
got it. April 28th, Beth Shamas. Thank you so much. Okay, so any other, I don't see any other public members wanting to speak on this. Any trustees? Go ahead, Elliot.
Just a quick one for that meeting. I realize we only have the training for 3 hours, but since it's a public meeting, can we vote to extend the time if there's more items we want to discuss like we would a regular board meeting?
I suspect that you can. It's going to be whether or not the attorney can stay that long.
No, but I'm saying with the attorney leaving, I'm
Oh,
saying
yeah.
after the attorney leaves, if there's other items that come
like
up
a
and we wanna
debrief
use
together?
that. Yeah, just a thought.
I think if the board decided that was okay, yeah. Okay, so this item, don't think there was any changes to it, so we don't need to vote on it, but I don't want to move on and leave anyone out. Trustee Brian, did you have anything?
Nothing further.
Thank you so much. Okay, everyone, now we're on to the back page. We are going to move, if it's okay with everybody, the governance board meeting efficiency to the next meeting, and we may not get to future agenda items, but now we're going on to summer school credit recovery with the excellent Dr. Hagquist and the excellent Director Rogaman presenting. Thank you.
I think I'm just gonna be the one presenting here because I was in charge of the summer school credit recovery. So what I'd like to do here is just share my screen. One moment. There we go. And in the interest of time, I'll try to be brief but thorough. So why are we here? I was asked to present on summer school credit recovery. And to give a little bit of background, we've had some prior meetings. We had a meeting last May where I was presented a document that kind of outlined what good summer school programs look like. And I was asked, how are we going to measure the effectiveness? What does a successful summer school program look like? So some of the bullets that were on that document are right here. You've got good summer school programs combine academics, enrichment, and physical activity. They create measures to evaluate progress. They leverage resources from the community. They involve teachers in the design and implementation of the evaluation plan. And they celebrate success stories, ensure students and staff are summer ready. Then this was presented, Director Rogaman and I presented also at the September 1st, 2022 meeting, the outcomes of our combined summer school programs. How? So how did we approach this? We looked at those bullet points that I just read and we said, well, how are we going to approach this together as a team? I said, we're going to prioritize community building. And one of the things that we like to emphasize was relationship before task. That was with the teachers and with the students. So we had a lot of community building activities with the students and in the classrooms. And we met every day to talk a little bit about the students and to make sure that we didn't start class with turning on their Edmentum and getting to work. It was building community within the classroom. Celebrated successes every day. We had a board up front. We talked about every student every day, and we had little ice cream socials and things like that every time a student passed a course or did well on an exam. And there was just a lot of teamwork. The continued how were the teachers. So really the teachers were the most important piece when it came to the success of the program. And so this is a list of the teachers right here that were part of our summer school credit recovery program. And then the what were the outcomes. So as I mentioned, we like to measure the success and have metrics. And so what we looked at were just course completions. And you'll see kind of a comparison between 21 and 22. Single course completions, we had 44 of 55 students have single course completions in the summer school program, 80% completion rate. And then we actually were very surprised that some students were able to complete 2 courses within the summer school. We did extend it for 2 weeks. So we had 17 students with 2 course completions. And I did share a report on this that's available in the board packet. So any details should be available there. I have a little video recap. Should be able to hear this. Here we go. right. And I think that's it. Sound. All right, that's it. Any questions?
Thank you so much. So I'll go to the board for any questions or comments. So Clerk McNary, you're up, please.
I love the data point because that's kind of how I can measure it. I think I would love more data. I think as far as the passage rate, but then on some of the other activities like the barbecues, like I'd love to know the success of the barbecues out of how many kids who attended. Why didn't certain students attend? Was it because they didn't like the food or they didn't have transportation or, because like you said, the community building piece, like those are the activities that when people show up, that do build the community. So I think some of those pieces, it would be helpful to like increase the data. So we know we're connecting with these many students or student X never shows up, which I'm sure with a small group, you all recognize, but as a board, for us to know how things are working, that would be helpful for me. I think I wonder how like a computer software credit recovery program would be enjoyable for students who are behind and maybe don't enjoy coming to school and it's hard to finish things as it is. Yeah, just as the offering. I don't know what else is out there. Those are my
It's a pretty
comments.
tall task.
Right.
To take some of the most least resilient students.
Right.
And have them learning online. So that's why we try to place so much emphasis on the relationship aspect and the community aspect, and celebrating the successes. So, yeah, and metrics are, we can look into like, how do you measure success when it comes to those types of things? And I like to do a lot of qualitative surveying, and listening to the stories, because I think sometimes with those types of things, the qualitative research is the best approach because it tells the story.
Sure. I love all of it. I would just say I love having the stories and the individual wins, and I love being able to like measure and understand success of a program with the data points too. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Trustee Otmar.
Thank you for doing this because 80%, I mean, what a huge improvement. I think this just goes to show that supporting the social emotional wellness of students first, it's a basic need. It's a basic human need. And once that is met, kids are they're able to learn if they feel supported. So thank you for creating that community. And this is, to me, it sounds like a massive success. And so keeping this up and being able to continue with this is hopefully that will happen. Thank you.
It was thanks to the board and to Mr. Garcia as well, who kind of brought the teachers in, because the year before we didn't have in-person teachers. So I think that made a huge difference.
Thank you. Trustee Brian Swanson online.
Yeah, thank you. Although it's not the most important thing, I am a huge Bananarama fan. So I was watching this earlier on the flight to Philly, and it's like, and now I got to listen to Bananarama twice in a day, which I don't always get to do. I suppose I could, but I am a big fan, and especially of that particular album. But anyway, all that said, I remember watching what you did with it last year, and I thought it was so cool. And in reading through what it was that, the way you built this team, and I know it was with Principal Garcia's help too, and looking at the names, these are names that the teachers that were involved in it that you see again and again and again that are so engaged, and allowing the students to kind of, if you got to get out of the room, get out of the room and make it a program that really worked for them and gave them the freedom to do that. You see why you had the success that you did with it. I'm really looking forward to what it looks like this next year too. I know some of there are measurable elements, and then there are other elements that are difficult to measure where, you know, we as board members this summer, if we have a moment or two, let's go be part of the ice cream social. Let's go flip some burgers and see what we saw a little bit of in that video and the results that we saw in the end with the completion rates. So good on you. That's really fantastic. Thank you.
So my comments, will you just remind us or tell us for the first time, actually, what is your goal to improve on this summer? Are you hoping for more students? Are you hoping for more students to complete something or more participation in some aspect? I'll let you think about that while I go to Dr. Hazen.
Very similar question, almost exactly what I was going to ask. But first of all, thank you for this, both in implementing it and such a great presentation with data and stories, as was said. Do you have, you know, I'd love more years of data, but also do you have information on transitioning back to the normal school year too? Because that's one thought, like, you know, if you give this support and then they go back to status quo, are they able, does that carry over, or is it, you know, if that makes sense? That'd be kind of data I would love.
Yeah,
whether
that's a
it's
good,
quantitative
that's
or
a great
qualitative.
question. It is a good question. It's a question that I've asked, you know, looking into that, and there's a lot of different ways you can go. You have to be efficient also with the way that you look into it too, because you can get, you know, there's paralysis by analysis too.
Agreed.
And you don't want to get in one of those situations because you have to be efficient and you have to keep progressing.
And two just quick points on that. The other is, you know, the opportunity for those additional students that may not be in the, as you put it, the least resilient category, but like following on what Trustee Carolyn said is how, you know, my goal here is when everyone here is doing things that are great and amazing, is how can we do more? And so that's one of the questions is I'd love to know as a board what we can do to support this, expand it, get greater participation, whatever is necessary, because it is such a good success.
Sounds like you're already talking a little bit about it. And I know one thing that happened during the summer schools, I had to come to a board meeting to ask for funds for food because they lost, the funding for the free lunches ran out. And here I have this population, they'd been accustomed to getting lunches every day. And then all of a sudden they're coming to summer school and they didn't have it. So you all moved quickly and we were able to do that and made a big difference. And then more, you know, more funding for like the types of activities that we did.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the reasons that, well, at least that I'm interested in like some more hardcore data is so that the program and the momentum of it can continue. So like even though we have fabulous staff who know the students really well, know the program really well, there is turnover and transition. And so if we even have like a summer school credit recovery program, you know, if we have a presentation, even a board presentation, because it's public record with a little more data in it. For example, a data point I'm curious about is, I don't want to say recidivism, but like, is it successful, or is the goal actually, I mean, I don't even know, is the goal so that students don't have to end up in summer school, or is it okay? And maybe that there's an opportunity for and a need for students to have a safe place during the summer that has lights on and food for them and a little social camaraderie, you know? So I don't know what's best because you guys do, you're on the ground with the students. But I would love as a board to hear about that and be able to support it and then document it. And then, you know, every year get a little tiny bit better, because it's really hard to do more than a tiny bit every year, I think. So,
Yeah, we'll see. All we can do is try.
yeah.
And we know that we won't always progress as far as the metric goes.
Sure.
But over time we will.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But
As long as we're talking about
at
it,
least we're measuring the same thing every time.
that would be lovely, in my opinion. Let me make sure that I didn't forget a trustee. I feel like, did I forget Brian Swanson, or who did I forget? I didn't forget Bananarama. Okay. Dr. Hazen told me to say that. Okay. So anyone in the public wanting to ask any questions in person or online, I actually thought I saw a hand. I thought I saw a hand from Casey Marie. Okay, I did see a hand. Please go ahead. You have the floor.
I just wanted to comment that we found out at the high school PTA board on the later end of this, I believe, when you were requesting funds, and it wasn't in our previous allocation of funds. And we offered to support in a way to do a Sign Up Genius, to get the community involved, to support barbecues. Our question was why the enrollment of summer school was the number of about 55 students. And if that was, higher or lower than average, if that was a larger percentage of students that had been involved in RTI, and what the completion rate was. We didn't have access to any of that data at that time. And we tried to scramble in our best attempts, because it was a great thing that we wanted to do. But we didn't have a lot of information about it. I am happy to see the completion rates, and I'm happy to see that it had increased from the year prior. And it's something that I would be very much interested in discussing, maybe not even in this setting, but also with the PTA to support going forward. But I do think that summer school, especially recovery credit for 2 or more courses, is somewhat alarming for that number of students for such a small school population. So if there's a way that we can collaborate and support you guys, I'd be interested in entertaining that idea going forward.
Thank you for your comment. And Dr. Hagquist, who is the point of contact at the high school for the summer school program this year?
I don't believe that the program position has been flown by the district yet. I'm not sure.
Could Casey reach out to you and ask her for, and kind of
Oh,
follow
yeah,
up
yeah,
and ask
absolutely.
questions?
But anything about last year's program for sure.
Okay, Casey Marie, if you do not have his email address, you can email one of us board members and get it, or lhagquist@PGUSD.
Got
Okay.
it.
So 9:56, we've got about 4 minutes. Board, do we want to give any direction to Dr. Hagquist to come back with more information? Oop, we got somebody online. One moment, please. Angela Lippert.
Thank you. Sorry, I just wanted to follow up with the posting. It is ready to go, and I'm hoping to get it out tomorrow for the principal for summer school.
No worries. Thank you so much. Board, do we want to give any direction to Dr. Hagquist or whoever takes over? Data we want back, or do we want this report again? Any direction, or are we just going to say thank you, see you later, and we don't want to hear anything again? I don't know. I mean, we should give him some direction. Right, Ralph?
I'd ask,
I feel like
perhaps
we
ask
should-
Dr.
Right,
Hagquist if he
Dr.
needs any direction.
Would you need, do you want direction? Do you want to come back and tell us again? Is there something we can?
There's nothing I need right now, as long as the funding is there for summer school.
Meals.
The meals,
And
I
we
think
did
that's gonna
talk
be
about that at a previous meeting, so that's on the radar.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's important. And, if you build a program the same way that you did before, I
Mhm.
think it'll be successful. We have to see what the numbers look like, but
Okay.
it was 49, the year before it was 55. I'm hearing, it might be similar, if not a little bit higher.
Okay. Will you keep us posted?
Yeah, we're working at the 3rd quarter grades are coming up, right
Okay.
now. So that is a big part of how we
Okay.
determine.
And you can just keep us posted in a simple way. You don't have to come back and do this. You can just send a board memo to Ralph and he'll distribute it to us.
Sounds good.
Is that okay with the board? Okay, Brian, is that okay with you online? Okay. Thank you so much, Dr.
Is there a
Hagquist.
timeline for when you want to be alerted?
You tell us. I mean, when will you have a good chance to get something?
It's gonna be in May. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, closer to summer school.
Even if you tell us in the fall, it gives us
Okay.
a chance to kind of digest it throughout the year and whatever.
Sounds good.
Yeah, no rush, but it's valuable to us, I would say.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
It's 9:58. We have, did I see someone's hand raised? Did I see your finger, Elliot?
I'm happy to. I was going to make a motion to extend if needed, if we wanted to deal with additional discussion items, but I'm also happy to.
Extension.
I,
Ooh, okay. I don't know if we want to extend. I guess we need to ask. You can make a motion. Is that Elliot? So we could do the governance board meeting efficiency item? You would like to do that tonight?
I also would love to get as much off of our agenda as we can to make sure.
Sure. Okay, go ahead and make a motion. See if it flies.
Sure. I would love to make a motion to extend the meeting by 15 minutes if possible, if you think that's enough time,
It's a 20-minute item, but
by 20 minutes
okay.
to address that item if it works for everyone on the board.
Ooh, it's been a long week. Okay, I'm gonna let somebody else make a motion or a second if they would like.
I will second.
Oh my gosh, okay. Okay, motion made by Dr. Hazen, seconded by trustee Brian Swanson. Roll call vote, please, Mandy.
Aye. That didn't sound convincing.
I have no idea what to say to this. My alarm just went off that we should be stopping the meeting. Sure, aye.
Aye.
Ooh.
Aye.
No, thank you.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. I'm so sorry. So it so didn't pass unanimously. It passed 4-1, 4 in favor, 1 against. Trustee Otmar dissenting. Trustee Otmar, and Ralph, correct me if I'm wrong, but if she needs to go, she could technically leave at this point.
As long as we have a quorum.
Okay, so so sorry.
I will stay. I'm just tired, so I'm
Okay.
at the bottom of my game now. So
Okay,
I won't be
noted.
absorbing much.
One good thing is we're not making any decisions about students or the public's money at this point, so that's probably a good thing. Ralph, it's been such a long week. Do we want to?
I think if the administrative team would like to leave, this is a good.
Get out while you can.
Unless they want to be part of the conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's see what's going on first.
yeah. Okay, yes. Okay, so we'll utilize our 20 minutes. That's 10:01, so we'll be done at 10:20. Set alarm for 10:20. Okay, so this item is board meeting efficiency or effectiveness. I don't know. So really quickly, we have a board of 5 people, obviously, plus a student board member. So we have a board of 6 people. I wanted to say we're, in my opinion, extremely lucky with the board that we have. Jennifer and I went to a president's CSBA training online virtually, Jennifer McNary and I, and the horror stories that we heard about people yelling and screaming at each other, trustees feeling super threatened by each other, et cetera, et cetera. That's not us. We all can ramble on a little bit, and that's like, if that's the worst thing we do to ourselves and to each other, I think we're doing the board's business honor. So anyways, let me just rattle off a couple of things that I had. Okay, so I just wanted to go over with you some things that I've kind of implemented as board president, because one of my I have no more extra power than anyone else on the board. My role as board president is to manage the meetings. So a couple of things that we have done ongoing. So agenda setting meetings are happening with Ralph and Jennifer McNary. I want to reiterate again, any trustee who would like to attend those, just let us know and we will swap out Clerk McNary. She's agreeable to it. And we will swap you in. We want everyone, I want everyone, I think we all want everyone to have a opportunity to see that process. It's valuable. The purpose of the consent agenda, really quickly, those are recurring routine items. We approve those as one fell swoop, one like bucket of items. It's listed in the agenda that way. It's properly noticed to the public that way. Items don't need to be pulled unless you really have an issue with them. You don't need to pull them to like bring light to an item to the public. There are some other boards and other areas that think that that's what the consent agenda is for, and that's not what it's for. It's for the board's recurring business to be done efficiently or effectively. So anyways, submitting future agenda items, we've updated that system, how it was previously. We've created we stole a digital form from another district, I'll be honest. We plugged it in online. We have that now available. Any member of the public, any board member can submit that form online. It's come in my opinion, really handy when we run out of time for future agenda items. We're submitting it in writing. It's really clear to everyone. It's included in the packet. The person's name is scrubbed who submitted it, but the the contents of it is there. That's a shift that I made with your agreeing. The order of board member comments. I don't know if you all love or hate this or don't have a care in the world about it, but I do have this post-it system where I've listed your names. Your names are always in the same order on here. And then I try to start the next one down so that there isn't one person who's always going first. That's what's to avoid. And I do come back to the board twice. So if anyone is feeling like they might not get a chance to speak, I don't know if anyone has that worry on this board, but so that's a system that I created. Length of staff presentation. So this one is tricky for me because we want to hear from the staff. They have, of course, value. They're the subject matter experts on so many different things that we are not. But also the value of our meeting is that we're all together as one and we can all discuss things because we're in public. One thing the public may not realize, that's probably, if anyone's listening right now, is we're not allowed to chat outside of this meeting and confer and discuss things. I'm only allowed to talk to one other trustee about a topic, and then I cannot talk to any other trustees about that topic. And so that's why we're even having this conversation in public, because we can't just go to a coffee shop and meet together and shoot the breeze collectively, because we do our meeting in public. We're doing the public's business right now. So, so there you go. Submitting advanced packet questions. Personally, I try to submit them before noon on Wednesday. I have never discussed that with Ralph. I've just been like, I'll try to send them in advance. So we might want to talk about that as a group. Like, Ralph, is that working for you? Or is that not nearly enough time to turn those around? So let's talk about that. Okay. Like if you wish they were on Tuesday, okay, let's talk about how far in advance you want them. You can rewatch board meetings with a growth mindset. If you can stand the sound of your own voice, it's really hard for me to hear myself talk again, but that's what professional athletes do. They watch tape, right? They try to get better with each they try to get better with each time. We're asking staff to try to get better with each time. We're asking staff to be really vulnerable, hear all the things, all of our missteps, whatever. And so if we want to rewatch tape, we can, and you will be amazed at the stuff that you can improve upon. I would love for our board to have a culture within it and perpetuate that culture onto staff, where it's something that my daughter does. She is not afraid to make a mistake. When she does, she goes, whoops. And I'm like, and it just is, she just is free from it. And I would love for that to be the culture, instead of maybe a culture of like defense, excuse. Well, these are all the things that we did right. Like, we don't need all that. We can just be like, whoops, because we're all human and we made a mistake and we can move forward. And how do we do better? So that's what I had. I brought this item because I had heard from a variety of different trustees that they had questions, concerns, ideas about the meetings. And so I will now be completely quiet because I took 7 minutes of your time with all that. And so using my handy system here, Trustee Otmar, you go first since you're almost asleep. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm awake now.
Okay.
Well, I think this is great. I have rewatched some board meetings and it's extremely painful. But you know, that's what it is, and that is part of growth. I love all of this. I would like to know from Ralph, when a good time, like what's a good cutoff for you?
Yeah.
For questions, because I mean, sometimes it's hard to get to them for me, but you're also having to answer all those questions. So.
Well, and it's obviously a team effort, because we get to try to get the questions out to the whole group. I think the later days, the Tuesday afternoon, Wednesdays are really difficult, just because it's there's a lot going on in preparation time. Obviously, we want to get your questions answered to the extent that we can. So the best timing is Monday, Tuesday. You know, by those 2 days, because that helps us a lot. We can because if we need to investigate, we need a little time. We can do it. We get too close to the board meeting, we feel like we're not giving you maybe not a full answer, or we're pulling people from other duties. So I think our goal, Mandy and I talked about this, but one goal perhaps will be to gather your questions, and with the understanding, if it's not urgent, that we would put them on a Google Doc and then just start answering them on our own.
Yeah.
And then if you can wait until, Wednesday, we can then just push out all the answers by Wednesday afternoon with the understanding that anything we get after that, we may or may not be able to answer it. I don't know if that would work for you, but it'll give us a little bit more of an opportunity because we feel really compelled to try to get the answers to you as soon as we can. That's the goal.
That's great, in my opinion.
I think that's fine. I mean, I am a fan of the paper packet. So if there's a way that that packet could arrive earlier, I know we get it via email first, then the paper packet comes, but if there's a way. No.
Fridays, always.
No.
Laura, to clarify, do you mean earlier on Friday or do you mean like Thursday? Is that what you were meaning?
No. Oh, you know what? I guess this week it was just late. So no, it's probably fine. As long as I have the weekend, I'm okay.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
usually
the weekend is
That I am half
crucial.
asleep apparently.
The
we
weekend
usually
is-
get it out to you on Friday. Sometimes the delay would be sometimes it just, there's something going on.
Okay, yeah,
that we can't
perfect.
get
Then
to.
I'm happy with it and okay.
Laura, that reminded me of something that you might want to chat about. What were you and I talking about? Oh, just like making sure that the packet, like reducing walk-ons, reducing stuff that we do have to then read last minute because it's really hard. And then if we have questions, then that creates later questions. I think you may have been, I don't know. Sorry if that wasn't you.
I won't remember anyway right now. So that's okay.
You won't
It could have been
remember.
me. But I agree. Yeah, the walk-ons sometimes are a little bit difficult, but sometimes it's just how it has to be. So that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought this forward and thank you for taking the time to do it. And I will adhere to one of these and I'll turn off my mic.
Okay, so from that discussion though, we got the Google Doc idea. We're gonna roll that out. We're gonna try as trustees to submit stuff by like Tuesday, 3:00-ish,
That'd be great.
Tuesday, close of business. And then you'll kind of shift into answering mode and, okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
that'd be great. Yeah, give it a shot.
Okay, trustee Brian Swanson online.
I'll be quick because we're now coming up on 12 minutes in. Brief thoughts. I would like to bring this back because we need more time to talk about how we do this and how we run just the meetings more efficiently. We need to remember our audience, and we've talked a lot about community engagement, and we're pushing the limits of them. I mean, to think about it, it's like if we're burned out at this point in time, and I think a lot of us are, imagine what a working parent, and they're all working, is feeling if they're still online right now, and they're not. There are 22 people, probably at least 3/4 of them staff, who are probably lying in bed with their laptop on. We're asking a lot of those people. Quick thought on the Brown Act. I don't think you got it right, Carolyn. You can talk to people about different things. You just can't talk to a person about what you talked to another person about or what they said. Monday cutoff for questions, absolutely. It's like we should think about when that packet arrives online, that's another meeting that you have with yourself to dig in and get that stuff done, to give the staff enough time to really answer the questions as thoroughly as possible. Consent this week was great. The last few meetings were a bit of a nightmare. This week, I think everybody got their questions in early and is getting a better handle on what consent is all about. We did it great this week, and that's the end of my comments for now.
Thank you, student trustee Avila.
Yeah, I'm all for efficiency in every way possible. I agree pretty much everything that trustee Brian Swanson said. Just I normally don't have many questions throughout the week, so if I do at some point, it's nice to know that I should be getting them in sooner rather than later.
Oh.
That's it for me.
Okay, thank you so much. Trustee Dr. Hazen.
Yes, try to be quick. I can't say enough how helpful getting answers to those questions in advance are, and from each other, like not in violation of the Brown Act, but through the superintendent, because that helps the meeting move more efficiently. So that is a great example of something, by asking earlier, we'll do a better job of. And I want to thank you as well, because as I said, my goal is to, even though we're doing really well, to always try to do better. So this is not to me a knock on the efficiency of the meetings, but can we still try to shave off that interstitial time, as I put it? And, one of the thoughts there I had is anything to me that's procedural, I would love for that to pass, for example, digitally, like when you're, as an example, reading out people's email addresses, that could go in the chat of a Zoom so that the people that need the email address would get it there. Ms. Shamas in the room probably knows everybody's email address memorized, so doesn't need, I'm joking, but I'm saying you probably don't need them read out to you. Is probably not the most efficient way to get someone's email address, as an example. So, but the same with like, you know, queuing for lines. Like it'd be really nice if a message would pop up and say, it is time, staff comment time. Then the staff could line up, and then it would be public comment time, and that would get the public to line up so that we're not reminding folks of the process. That's, I guess, kind of what I'm trying to think of. The other one I mentioned, this just a quick one, is like, I thought digital, but you convinced me digital might not be the best. But what about having like little flags that allow us to say when we want to speak? So that way we're not having to ask everybody. Okay. Bad idea.
It's a balance. I mean, I don't want to poo-poo on your ideas because it's a balance of like making sure people have time, being able to hear people's tone of voice when they're speaking. Unfortunately, sometimes I still have to cut people off and it's awful. But anyway, so go ahead.
No, I mean, the thought being is there are definitely I don't feel the need to say I don't have a comment every time, but if other folks feel that's important, I again, fully respect that. But personally, I like the idea of minimizing the interstitial, maximizing opportunity for public comment and for board discussion, because that's something I think we have been cutting off a little more in meetings for the sake of efficiency. And that's one thing is dangerous if this is the only place we can discuss.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so it's 10:15. We still have 5 minutes. We've heard, I think, from every trustee so far.
Not me.
Nope, not from Clerk McNary. Thank you. If there is a flag.
I am not in favor of the flag idea. I'd end up launching it across the room. I will say that in preparation for this item, I read through the CSBA call to order book, which is all about how meetings are run. And not once in that book, when it discusses how to run a meeting, does it talk about efficiency. They talk about effective boards and what board norms are and how boards, you know, approach public comment and what our values are. But nowhere in there is there like board efficiency, being fast. It's like it talks about culture. And if the culture is we want the public to understand the process, then maybe we are repeating it over and over again. But I think these are some of the questions where we may not all be on the same page because we haven't had that norms governance training yet. Yeah. So I struggle to like move anything in a certain direction as far as, you know, what the board wants. I love the Google Doc idea. I feel like that's going to be beneficial for staff and for us and just to be a better process. So thank you for that, Trustee Hazen. But I want us to be cautious about efficiency versus effectiveness. I think there's a difference. And I think if we're focusing on efficiency, for me, that the job is the job. And if it takes a long time sometimes, then that's kind of what comes with the territory. And now I'll be the rambler at the end of the meeting. So
go ahead.
Yeah, but as far as these topics, I think it is really valuable, and it's been valuable for me to be at the agenda meetings to understand literally like the time commitment and the minute by minute calculation that goes into putting together a meeting. And then it can all get derailed because public comment took an hour and you can't quash public comment. You just have to then adjust your meeting timeline. So there's some of those factors that we have to think about too. So I'll leave it there.
Okay, so it's 10:18. I did hear Brian Swanson say that he might want to talk more about this topic. Brian, were you thinking to bring this back again on the next meeting, or were you thinking to kind of fold it into our 3 hours with DWK?
I'm fine to fold it into that 3 hours, you know.
Okay.
I did want to add one final thought though too about, you know, efficiency and effectiveness are not mutually exclusive, and efficiency does not necessarily equate to rapidity either. They're different terms. I think we can be efficient and effective.
Thank you.
And one last just quick comment on would it be possible to get the minutes when like you said this was a 20-minute item? I don't see that on the agenda.
It's just my own calculation.
But I would love to see that on here because that would help me also understand what your thought would be. Or is that not a good idea? Okay, maybe not.
This would be an opportunity to attend the agenda setting meeting where that is all set forth. I think as a trustee, it's really valuable to do that rather than to watch a minute by minute timeline, because she's already tracking us for closed session. And if we're literally watching a clock, I think that won't be conducive to productive discussion. Because we're already watching a clock.
I mean,
We are, though, that's probably, one person is, but not all of us, so I'm just suggesting it could be available for all of us.
I make my notes in pencil on the agendas. You all actually should do the same exercise. Cause I'm not the end all be all. That's like, I'm like, okay, 20 minutes, but I think it'd be really valuable for you all to do the same exercise. Cause that's when I learn a lot and I'm like, oh, shnikes, we're gonna run out of time on this. And we continue to run out of time in closed session because I tell Ralph, we can't do all these things. And he's like, we're gonna have to try. And it's 10:20. So, yeah, please do that exercise. Pencil marks. You'll get the hang of it and it'll benefit everybody, actually. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Ralph.
Microphone.
We have one item left on the approved agenda, so someone just needs to table it. I would just recommend that you do that, so.
The future agenda item?
Yeah, I would
Sure.
just recommend since it's been an approved agenda.
Okay, so we will table that for next time. Do we need to vote on that?
Happy to make a motion to table that till next time.
Yeah.
I'll second. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 Thank you all. Meeting adjourned at 10:20.